of 3 from the Royals. Full reaction to the series.
Time to go put it all together, right? I mean, we're literally at the midway point of the season. Time to go put it all together.
And a preview as the Nationals come to Petco.
22 games before the All-Star break
could make or break their season.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 1, Jon and Jim with you until 6. Old friends making Petco Park debuts tonight. Padres Nationals coming up. We'll talk to Dave Jagler. He is a radio announcer for the Nats. He'll join us at 2:30. Big day for the Pac-12. We'll get into that coming up at 3 p.m. with J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, and Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will join us at 4:30 today. Jon and Jim with you. Padres bounce back, Jim. I mean, they come home, they lose Friday night to the Royals. Sky's falling. Are they going to be sellers at the deadline? But they win Saturday, they win Sunday, they get Jackson Merrill back. They're taking on a bit of a wounded animal here in Washington. They're 2-13 in their last 15 games. So trying to complete a good homestand, a good start, 2-1. See if they can keep it going this week against the Nats.
Good start to. This is what I'm doing. I'm looking at the next 19 games until the All-Star break as like the most important part of their season. You know, started on Friday against the Royals, and they laid a dud. It's just a complete egg. It was like, wait, where was that momentum that you wanted to get after the final victory in LA? And we all know the deal with, you know, Dave Roberts and Mike Shildt and all that. And you started out just laying a flat egg on Friday. Luckily, They bounced back. They played really good on Saturday. Fernando Tatis Jr. hits his first home run in like forever.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that for weeks on end.
Then yesterday, you know, you have a guy coming off your bench who is going to need to start playing better. And I think he's going to get more playing time too. Jose Iglesias driving in all 3 runs and then the winning run. So, so far, so good. But I think people aren't realizing yet just how important these games are until the All-Star break. Maybe they are. Maybe people are. Maybe people realize, like, you know, fans, maybe you guys realize how important these games are. But if you don't, we're here to tell you these next 19 games could, I'm not saying it will, but it could affect the rest of their season.
Well, I would say this. I agree with you. I mean, you look up today, and the Padres have had a good year. You know, they're a handful of games over 500. But you also look at the standings. I think it's fair to start looking at the standings. We're at the halfway point by and large. If the season ended today, the Padres are actually a half game out of a playoff spot. So they need to play well. They have some things working in their advantage, I think. They're playing a lot of home games here into the All-Star break. 13 of their next 19. We've talked about what we think is going to be a favorable September schedule if they put themselves in that position. They've got the trade deadline to hopefully bolster this team, but there's question marks. I mean, the offense continues to be up and down. The Jackson Merrill addition yesterday was huge. I think without Jackson Merrill yesterday, they probably don't win the game, and we'll get into that. We'll hear from Jackson Merrill coming up as well. But getting Merrill back was huge. But Michael King and Yu Darvish are still hanging over this team. And again, as well as they started 14-3, they still would be outside of a playoff spot if the season ended today. So I'm with you. I think this upcoming 3-week stretch you need to take advantage of, and that includes the series they're playing this week at home against the Nationals, a team that had an 11-game losing streak within the last 2 weeks, is 2-13 in their last 15, lost 2 of 3 at Dodger Stadium. They did win 1 of those 3 games. This, you know, I rarely say this, like you got to win this series. I know it's June, but this is not a homestand you're looking to go 3-3 in. You got to win this series. If they win tonight, I said this last night, you're going to think about sweeping this series. But this is not the series to take a step back in. I think if you win this series, you feel decent about where you are. 4-2 homestand or better, but that's in front of them. They got to win this series this week against the Washington Nationals.
So what did you make of the new improved lineup yesterday that could not score a run until Jose Iglesias got in the lineup?
I'm all for I'm for mixing it up because Merrill was out and he's missed like 30-something games this year, and it's true that their offense hasn't been good. I don't think it's some quick fix. To your point, they went 18 consecutive batters without anyone reaching, or 18 consecutive Padres were sent down. But Merrill did come through. In that 2-hole, he came through in the 7th inning, sparked the 2-run rally, made a great defensive play. I'm fine with it. I stick by what we've said repeatedly. It's more about the players performing regardless of where they're hitting than the lineup itself. It's not some drastic wholesale change. I want to give it more than 1 game, but I'm not expecting everything to be unlocked unless we see Bogarts play like Bogarts the last 5 days, and Merrill play like Merrill of 2024. So I think there's potential, but it's based on the players, not based on where they bat in the lineup for me.
100%. I think anybody out there today or even yesterday thinking that this is the magic elixir to changing the Padres offense, which, has been close to the bottom half of the league for the last month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
As a total offense over the year, they're one of the bottom half teams in offense in all of baseball. And especially the last month and a half. You just look at their numbers and you're like, huh? Mm-hmm. Thank goodness for their hot start. So I don't think this move is this just, now this team's going to score 5 runs a game. They're going to be a top 10 offense. They're going to start hitting more home runs. No, I don't think that. But what I do think is something needed to change. Something needed to change with a fully, healthy, I'm putting air quotes out there for everybody listening on the radio, healthy lineup. When you have all your guys in the lineup, Merrill, Arise, Tatis, Manny, Bogarts, Sheets, Cronenworth, whoever the hell's in left field and whoever's behind the dish, right? That's their A lineup, like A team as far as players in the lineup. Now, how they want to put the lineup together, that's up to Shildt, and I'm sure, their analytic department, but at the same time, it's up to the players to come through regardless of where they're at in the lineup. And with the lineup they've had this year, with Toddy hitting leadoff, Arise hitting second, Manny hitting third. When Merrill is in there, he was hitting fourth, and then Sheets is fifth, and Bogey's sixth, and Cronenworth seventh, right? It was time for something to change. When like you're in a rut and you're in the same routine every day, and that routine just feels monotonous, and you just are like slugging around. You're like, you know what? I need to change something up to get my spirits up, to make me feel better. I'm not saying that this is going to make this team's spirits, go up, because the most important thing is winning. If they win games, that's all they need. But I think with this lineup, the way they performed, they were in a rut. They were doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, and it just was not happening. And up until this Royals series, they've not been playing good baseball. Even in this series, particularly, they didn't play great, but they got the job done, and that's the most important thing. So I think of all the takes about this new lineup, the one thing that I look at the most, regardless of any analytical nerd out there that wants to tell you why Jackson Merrill hitting second's great, it's that they needed a change.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We'll see what it ultimately means. Do I expect them to go from the 23rd best offense to the 3rd best offense because of a lineup change? I absolutely don't. This is a team that through yesterday is 22nd in OPS in baseball for the whole year, 23rd in slug for the whole year, 27th in home runs hit for the entire year. So I'm not expecting anything to be drastically different. I do think there's a possibility for improvement. Why do I say that? Deadline's coming. I think you can make some type of improvement. I don't think it's going to be the end all be all, but I do think you can make an improvement. I think Merrill getting in there every day and looking like Jackson Merrill is possible.
He looked really good yesterday.
Yeah, and we just haven't seen him a lot. He's missed like half the games this year. Here's the other thing. Fernando Tatis Jr. homered this weekend. If you look at his body of work, he's still one of the more productive Padres. Now, he's got to be the player he was the first month of the year. And then the huge X factor, no pun intended, is Xander. The huge X factor is Xander. 11 for his last 19, meaningful hits. And I'm talking about extra base hits. He's homered in here. He's had multiple doubles. Nobody's expecting 11 for 19 for like a month. He's not going to hit 550 for the next month, but he does look improved. And we're not asking him to be Machado second half 2024, but we are asking him to be better than he was in the first half this year, in the second half this year. So I don't know if that's wishful or not. I'm impressed by Xander over the last 5 games. I recognize his 5 games. I'm hopeful about Merrill because we've seen it before. I'm hopeful on Tatis. So, it's a lot of wishfulness and hopefulness. They can't be much worse. This offense has been a bad offense, so they can't be much worse, and hopefully they're going to improve in the second half of the year with the deadline coming up.
Luckily, they got 2 wins over the weekend because they could have easily lost that series. Easily.
They're not 2-0 in the 7th inning to Seth Lugo. They had 1 hit in the game.
Thankfully, the Royals bullpen is not that good.
No.
So they took advantage. They picked up 2 wins. This team was so desperate for a series win. So desperate. Just, hey, can you guys win a series? Because you guys have been playing some bad baseball the last couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think this was a perfect series by any means. But, getting a walk-off is always fun. Having Tatis look like Tatis, that's great to see. And then Xander Bogaerts, as you talked about, which I completely agree with. If you were to tell me, all right, who's the X factor in the second half of the Padres season that will, that could either make or break them, it's for me 100% Xander Bogaerts. Because if Xander Bogaerts is going to play just like 80% or 70% of what he's looked like the last 5 games, the rest of the second half, it makes your lineup, it lengthens your lineup out, which was desperately needing that the entire year. Because after you get down to like 5, 6, 7 in the lineup, you start looking at this automatic out after automatic out. And now if Xander is actually going to, be impactful for you, which the last 5 days, that's an understatement. He's looked like vintage Xander Bogaerts, like Boston Xander Bogaerts. It lengthens out your lineup and it makes your lineup more of a threat. And so I just knock on wood, man. You knock on wood that you hope that Xander has figured something out, that hopefully that 9th inning at bat against the Dodgers on Thursday night was a F it. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to be me and I'm not going to worry about what anybody says. And hopefully that carries over for the rest of the second half.
And oh, by the way, Jose Iglesias off the bench in 2 innings played winning baseball. He had a 2-out 0-2 hit down 2-0 in the 7th inning. He later had the game-winning fielder's choice. He had a terrific relay throw in the top of the 9th inning to cut down the go-ahead run. Jackson Merrill, Jose Iglesias, Xander Bogaerts playing winning baseball. Hopefully moving forward as well for the Padres. We'll hear from Jackson Merrill on his return on the other side. Also, it's a bit of what could have been night tonight for the Padres. We'll explain on the other side. Plus, Dave Jagler, radio voice of the Nationals, will join us at 2:30. J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, at 3 p.m. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, is here at 4:30. We're just getting started. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, San Diego Sports 760 has 9 chances to win $1,000. That's every weekday, the bonus bucks giveaway. You listen for the keyword, enter it, sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 coming up at 3 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. Dave Jagler, radio announcer for the Nats, will join us at 2:30. J.D. Wicker on a big day for the Pac-12. He will join us at 3 p.m. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, at 4:30. Of course, we'll get into the NBA Finals as well. Let's go back to last night, though, or yesterday afternoon for the Padres. Jackson Merrill, not only did he have that big double down the right field line in the 7th inning that kind of sparked the Padres after they had just one hit in the game, he then maybe thought he had won the game. He hit a ball literally over the right field wall that was brought back in by Caglione, the right fielder for the Royals. He was asked about this post-game. Take a listen.
Do you think you might have won it in the 8th?
Unbelievable. Someone that doesn't play the outfield the next year is unbelievable. So, props to him.
What was it like for you getting back out there today? I know this is kind of where you love to be.
Super fun, good energy, good fans, warm weather. Can't beat it.
What does Jose mean to this team? Kind of all the different things that he can do on the field and game today.
I mean, he's always ready to go. He always wants to be in there. So it doesn't matter if he's off the bench. He's going to be ready to play. I appreciate him playing hard all the time. I mean, while we get to the gap, get it as fast as possible. Props to Jose, threw it in two. It's just good team baseball.
I worked on that relay from the first day of spring training. Is it almost drilled into you at this point? Did you find your head and cut off managing?
Nah, that's just baseball. That's just awareness and instincts. The ball's to the gap guy on first. He's going to try and score in that situation. You get the ball in as fast as possible. Doesn't do it really practice or anything. It's just instincts at that point.
Mike mentioned that the idea of moving you up a second was something that you thought about before you were injured. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, wherever he puts me, I'll hit. I liked it today, so we'll see how it keeps rolling in the future.
You know Jon at all?
No, I haven't ever talked to him or anything. A young kid, he's the same age as me, so I know how difficult it is. And it's good stuff out there.
And you know what it's like to learn how to play outfield on the fly, right?
Yeah.
Is that what that's appreciation for what he's doing?
Yeah, I mean, he's a bigger kid, and he's got a big body, big frame, so it's a little different with him transferring to the outfield from first base than it was for me from shortstop. And he's learning right field, which is one of the harder ones. So process.
What's the consensus in the dugout on whether or not you do or do not tip your cap if somebody grew out of the run?
I mean, Mandy's done it before. I do it. Gavin's just a firm believer in. Don't show him that. Don't show him that. But Gavin's Gavin. So. Thanks, guys.
Looking forward to this next series with so many familiar faces that you came up with in the minors.
It's another series. It's fun playing against them, but it's nothing crazy. It's just baseball. It'd be cool to be on the field, share the same field at the same time.
It's just baseball, John. He did not want to talk. He
didn't want to talk at all.
Oh my goodness. He's like,
he was asked 10 questions in 2 minutes. Think about that. So his average answer was like 5 seconds.
Right. I do agree with, the question about the relay. I'm not. Guys, it's baseball. Like these guys are supposed to make the right relay. I don't view it as like this. Oh my gosh, that amazing relay. Some could be amazing, but that's the big leagues. They're supposed to do that. That it's instinctual. If you can't run a right relay in the bigs, then you shouldn't be in the bigs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I thought yesterday's was special considering the circumstances. Tie game, 9th inning. I mean, you basically need 3 perfect parts of it. Merrill got to it quick. Iglesias spun and through. Tag applied properly. Again, it is the big leagues, to your point. If they don't make that play, we don't know if they win the game or not. Think about the way the game finished. It took like some perfect baseball from guys like Jose Iglesias, Jackson Merrill, Xander Bogaerts in the 9th inning, a double before the walk-off fielder's choice. So they play. They did. This is cliche, winning baseball. They played winning baseball yesterday. That was a very easy game to lose. Left for dead, Seth Lugo pitching the way he was, and door opened a little bit. They took advantage of it. They win the series. What we're saying today is so different. I always say this about one game. Yeah. What we're saying today, if they lost 2-0 to the Royals, sky is falling stuff. But they beat the Royals 3-2, and they walk off. You're like, well, they're in decent shape right now heading into this national series.
Yeah,
one game.
Yeah, new lineup. Xander playing better. Fernando finally hitting a home run for the first time in 700 days.
It feels like.
All those are great things, but it's still masking some issues with this team. Like, hey, you guys changed up your lineup yesterday, and you guys put up nothing. Without Jose Iglesias, you probably get shut out. Now again, it takes an amazing catch in right field.
Mhm.
So you have to look at it that way. That's probably a home run 98 or 99 out of 100 times for Jackson Merrill, right? But the fact still remains, Jose Iglesias had to be the hero yesterday.
Mhm.
Now, Seth Lugo's a good pitcher. We all know Seth Lugo here, and he went from a really good pitcher here in San Diego to like an elite pitcher in Kansas City. So, okay, but this offense still has issues. And the thing that I was most impressed with, that stood out to me the most this weekend, was the Fernando Tatis Jr. home run. It wasn't that he hit a home run. It was that it was a 3-run homer, that it was a no-doubter, something that Tatis hasn't done in forever. His last home run, if you guys remember, that was the shortest home run of his career.
Opposite field.
Over by the Jack in the Box porch.
Yeah, like by the foul pole, 330 feet. Something like that.
But it was his shortest home run of his career. And Saturday was an absolute no-doubter. And it was a 3-run homer. I haven't seen that from this Padres team in forever.
I think you've only seen it maybe 3 times this year. Now, here's what's interesting about this national. I think they've done it roughly 3 times. It's not more than 4. The interesting thing about this series is it is a little bit of like sliding glass door moment. They traded for Juan Soto, which I would never do over, by the way. It's so easy today to be like, man, James Wood would be nice to have. In real time, everyone wanted Juan Soto. He gave you a chance to win a World Series. It didn't come to fruition, but they still made an NLCS with Juan Soto. Could it have been better? Absolutely. Did the Nationals get nice pieces? Yeah. Look at Wood. Look at Gore. CJ Abrams is an everyday player for the Nats as well. I mean, Wood quietly is one of the best hitters in baseball. I mean, that's how good of a year he's had. About a 4-WAR season, 934 OPS. He's turned into a brilliant hitter. A lot of people projected that. But you traded for Juan Soto. Sometimes you just take shots. Now, it's not like Washington has, everything's been fixed because of this trade either. They're a rebuilding team with some young pieces. But this will be the debut for James Wood at Petco Park. Yeah. It will come here tonight in game 1 of this 3-game series, presumably. We'll talk to Dave Jagler in 5 minutes. But again, if I had it to do over again, I would pull the trigger, even with knowing that James Wood has turned into one of the better young players in the sport.
And it's the butterfly effect, right, Brent? The butterfly effect, when one thing happens and it's like a chain of events.
Right.
Well, the butterfly effect here is not as easy as, James Wood would just be on this exact team right now if the Padres ever made that trade. If the Padres ever make that trade, then guess what? They likely don't go to the NLCS in 2022. Who knows what happens with 2023 in the offseason. But that team, I don't know. 2024, they would have not made the postseason, and they wouldn't have had a 93-win season because they wouldn't have had Kyle Higashioka on the team or Michael King. Who knows if they even make a trade for Dylan Cease. So it's not as easy for Padres fans out there to just be like, if they didn't make the trade for Juan Soto, then James Wood and CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore would be on this exact same team right now that we're watching every single day.
We'd be World Series favorites. No. It doesn't work like that. By the way, Jackson Merrill and James Wood were best friends playing in the system and both grew up in the Baltimore suburbs, right? Together. Now we'll be reunited on the field here tonight. All right, we'll talk to Dave Jagler about that on the other side. Longtime radio announcer for the Washington Nationals. Dave Jagler, as the Padres get ready for the Nats tonight at 6:40. He'll join us next. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update is brought to you by Payday. We'll start with the Padres. They beat the Royals yesterday to pick up the series win. Next up, they will take on the Washington Nationals starting tonight for a 3-game series at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres. Last night, Game 7, Thunder beat the Pacers 103-91. The biggest story in the game, though, was Tyrese Halliburton tearing his Achilles 8 minutes into the game. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander won the finals MVP. And moving over to other news in the NBA, Kevin Durant, he was traded in a blockbuster move yesterday from the Suns to the Rockets. Hardworking people need a hardworking candy bar packed with peanuts and filled with golden caramel. Payday is definitely working hard for you, so grab one now to power you through the day. Payday peanut caramel bars. Get to it.
All right, game 1 coming up. Padres and Nationals from Petco. Great to reconnect with Dave Jagler, longtime radio announcer with the Washington Nationals. He's with us right now, Jon Jim, San Diego Sports 760. And I'm sure this gets asked, certainly when you're in San Diego, Dave. It's been a few years since the Juan Soto trade, and now we've seen the Nationals reaping some of the rewards of that return, including James Wood. I know the team overall has struggled here, just 2-13, I think, in its last 15. But how is that trade now looked at? We're a few years, beyond it. Juan Soto leaving Washington. How is that trade now viewed in DC? And thanks for hopping on.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, it's if you had asked the question on August 1st, 2022, it would have been a much different answer than you get today. I mean, obviously at that point, it was devastating to see Juan Soto be traded away because, at the tender age of 20 and then 21 when he turned in October, he won a World Series in a Nationals uniform. And you could see that this guy was on a Hall of Fame trajectory, and maybe he's going to be a National for life. And when he's traded away, that's obviously devastating for the fan base that had connected to him. But as you look at it here, with the benefit of 3 years having passed, you'd say, boy, the franchise, while it's not in the shape that it was in 2019, where would they be had they not made the trade? And it's really chilling to think, because you could argue the Nationals' 3 best players currently on their roster were acquired in that trade in James Wood, C.J. Abrams, and Mackenzie Gore, and there's still more coming. Robert Hassel III, who was a first-round pick of the Padres, came up briefly, had some flashes of playing well. He since has gone back to AAA and has continued to hit. And there's a young pitcher named Harleen Susana, who was kind of a throw-in in the trade, who's was popping 100 in AA before going on the IL with an elbow issue, but he could be a potential closer of the future. So if they had not made the trade and Soto had stayed, the odds are that he would have left as a free agent, and they wouldn't have James Wood, C.J. Abrams, or Mackenzie Gore. So, if and when the Nationals are back to contention, hopefully soon, that trade is going to be a big, big reason why.
Dave, what's been the most impressive thing for you while watching James Wood?
Wow. I mean, how much time do we have? I mean, I'm just impressed that at the age of 22, this guy, he carries himself with a tremendously slow heartbeat. He walks to the plate, and it looks like he's going to take a nap. Or as Rick Monday told us with the Dodgers, it looks like he just rolled out of bed from a nap. Hey, I'm going to go hit now. He has that demeanor about him that, whether it's the 9th inning with a chance to win the game or in the 1st inning, he's got that same low-key level demeanor. But he came in with impressive plate discipline, which was what stood out about Juan Soto the first time we saw him. Now, to me, Soto is kind of one of one as far as that plate discipline, but James Wood is pretty close as far as a guy who has a plan up there, coming to the big leagues last year at age 21, not being overwhelmed by the big stage. So that the plate discipline stands out, and just the power to all fields. He's hit home runs that just we haven't seen in terms of launch angle, distance, and direction. His power to left and left center field rivals that of most right-handed power hitters. And then the other day when he actually hits it straight away or pulls the ball, he hit one almost over the batter's eye at Dodger Stadium, and it was measured at 451, give or take. I mean, who knows how accurate those things are? He just hits balls that are impressively in terms of carry, and they just when you watch them, the outfielders go back, think they have a play, but the ball never sinks. It's just that the ball doesn't drop out of the sky. It's truly impressive to see the power that is on display. And then the other thing is he's doing all this at age 22 with really no protection in the lineup. There's no one behind him that scares you as an opposing lineup. So every team that plays the Nationals goes in and says, we're not going to let this guy beat us. or they're going to bring in their best left-handed pitcher out of the bullpen to face him. So he dictates matchups and he affects game strategy all at a very young age.
Yeah, and I remember back, during the 2022 season, James Wood was the player in the deal that the Padres did not really particularly want to give up. They thought he was going to become a superstar. And the name that I kept hearing was this guy's like Yordan Alvarez. Do you see the comps there, or do you think James Wood is a better hitter at this early stage of his career than Yordan Alvarez?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard. I mean, Yordan Alvarez now is obviously tremendous. I mean, with that little experience, I'd probably put James Wood slightly ahead. Now, let's see what Wood becomes and develops into. Does he do this consistently year after year like Alvarez has? I think that potential is there. So, it's tremendously impressive to watch on a day in, day out basis. And you can kind of understand the pain that the Padres must have felt to give a guy like that up in the deal. I mean, he was still a little ways away from the major leagues, and we had to wait for it a minute here in D.C., but obviously it was well worth the wait. And the bonus for us is he's a local kid. I mean, he grew up in Maryland. His parents are around all the time. They can hop on the Metro and go to the game at Nationals Park. So the Nationals as a franchise have struggled to keep position players home. They've traded away so many of their top position players who've been all-stars. Maybe this can be different, even though he is a Scott Boras client and his clients generally go to free agency. Is the pull of home going to be strong enough to keep James Wood here in a Nationals uniform for a long time?
Dave Jagler with us right now. He calls games he has for a long time for the Washington Nationals. With us right now, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, Nats Padres tonight down at Petco. Speaking of a Maryland guy, Jackson Merrill, and I believe Merrill and Wood were very close friends, former teammates, both taken in the first in the same draft. One of them in the first round, the other in the second round. Have you talked to Wood at all about that relationship with Jackson Merrill? Because when Merrill was younger, he spoke a lot about his relationship with James Wood, and now they're going to be on the field against each other for the first time at Petco Park.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Last year, when Jackson Merrill came to D.C. for the first time, it was a road trip where the Padres played the Nationals and the Orioles back-to-back. Dylan Cease threw the no-hitter in D.C. in that series. And so I did a pregame interview for my broadcast with Jackson Merrill talking about that whole road swing east, coming to play first at Nats Park and then at Camden Yards. So I've actually talked more about Jackson Merrill's relationship with James Wood than James Wood's relationship with Jackson Merrill. I'll do that pregame tonight just to get up on that. So I know Jackson Merrill spoke very highly of James Wood when he was younger, saying, man, just with the talent and the build, he stood out. I mean, he's a really incredible physical presence. He just physically reminds you of Aaron Judge, just that height and just the way he carries himself. So yeah, when James Wood was younger, he stood out. And that's something that Jackson Merrill talked about in our interview last year. So I'm sure that the feeling is mutual, that James has admiration for Jackson as a player, and he's obviously doing great things at the big league level.
We'll see Mackenzie Gore on Wednesday. He leads the National League in strikeouts. Record, throw that away. All of his other numbers are really, really good. What's it been about Mackenzie Gore this season that has kind of taken him to that next level so far this year?
Yeah, it's a shame his record is what it is. I mean, I think he's still going to make the All-Star team just because of all the peripherals. And unfortunately, they've wasted so many of his good starts, not scoring runs behind him. But the strikeout stuff is there. It's always been there. The biggest difference between Mackenzie Gore last year and this year is avoiding the blow-up start. Last year, if things went south, he could not get things back on track. He's very much of a perfectionist. And we saw that with Steven Strasburg when he was a young pitcher. If things kind of got off the rails a little bit, it would, it might not ever come back in that particular game. And I think Gore dealt with that. He'd have dominant starts, but then when he was off, he'd end up giving up 6 or 7 runs, and that would obviously mess up his ERA. But this year, he's been much more mature at handling adversity. He has the ability and the confidence. Hey, you know what? If I give up a couple of hits, or if I walk a guy, or if there's an error, I'll just strike the next 2 or 3 guys out, and that guy won't score anyway. So he's kind of developed that self-confidence and assuredness that I can get out of any situation. So that level of maturity has taken him to a new level, and he's clearly the front of the rotation for our team and one of the top pitchers in the National League right now.
Strasburg, by the way, named to the College Baseball Hall of Fame today, of course, out of San Diego State, of course, a legend with what he did with that Nats World Series championship team. So what's happened here, Dave, because the start was relatively good for the Nats. I mean, they were about a 500 team just a couple of weeks ago, And from the outside, it appears as if the wheels have just fallen off. They had the long losing streak. I think they're 2-13 in their last 15. What's gone wrong in June?
Yeah, pretty much everything. I mean, they were hanging in there. They got off to a slow start. They were 1-6, but then for about a 54 game or so stretch, they were playing a few games over 500. I mean, that's not a small stretch. That's a third of a big league season. So things were going well, but just when the calendar turned to June, they frankly stopped hitting. They had a 4-game winning streak in which they scored 9 runs or more in each game. They came off that road trip and happened to win 2 games, both by the score of 2-0. It's just like the offense went totally stone cold all at once. And then I think the team started pressing them, and they had a chance to win a game in New York. They had a lead in the 8th inning, and they made a defensive miscue, and the bullpen fell apart. And then they had a chance to beat the Marlins, who were giving them chances to score, and they hit into a double play. And then they had a lead against the Rockies in the 9th, and their closer's been reliable, gave up the lead. So pretty much anything that could go wrong did go wrong, until James Wood finally ended the second longest losing streak in Nats history at 11 games with a walk-off homer in the 11th inning when the Nats were down to their final out. If he hadn't done that, they would have matched their longest losing streak in team history. They played very well against the Dodgers, won the middle game, had a 3-0 lead in yesterday's game, and then the wheels came off. So kind of in a rough stretch right now, but this is a very young team. And so I think, like I was talking about with Gore, this is collective. When things start to go south, how do you respond to that? And right now, that's been an issue. But like I said, they were competitive against the Dodgers, had a chance to win game 1, had a lead late, middle to late innings yesterday. So hopefully, from our side, they'll come out and be competitive against the Padres. Last year, the Padres really had their way with the Nationals. They swept them in both series. Dylan Cease threw a no-hitter in the series at D.C. I know he's no longer here, but Jurickson Profar had the series where he had the walk-off hit. The Nationals took offense to how he celebrated, and then there was a dust-up the next day when the bench is empty. So there was a little bit of back and forth between these teams last year, although the series on the field was dominated by a very good Padres club.
And real quick before we get out of here, Mitchell Parker tonight, Nationals starter. What could you tell Padres fans to expect tonight from him going against the Padres?
He's got one of the more unusual deliveries you'll see. He has the highest release point in baseball. It's like he's trying to reach for the sky when he's delivering the ball. So he can be a bit funky for hitters who haven't seen him before. The issue for Parker has been the first inning. He has given up 18 runs in the first inning this year. If he gets through the first inning, he's been great. But it just seems like these games where he'll give up 3 or 4, then he'll settle in. It's too little too late. So he's not an overpowering left-hander. He's kind of mid-90s. But again, with that delivery, it's a little bit unusual for the hitters. The fastball kind of rides up. He'll mix in a curveball and a splitter down. But again, keep an eye on the first inning. If he gets through that, he has a chance to be very good. And his last start out, he gave up 1 run over 6, gave up a solo homer in the 6th inning because he got through the first inning. But there have been a lot of times he's given up a crooked number early. So the Padres probably want to jump on him early if that's, and that would mean a good night for them.
Dave, always appreciate the time. Enjoy San Diego. Best of luck with the second half of the year. And as always, thanks for joining us here in San Diego.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. Great stuff from Dave Jagler, longtime radio announcer with Charlie Slows in Washington. All right. We'll switch gears to the NBA Finals. A true what-if Game 7 last night. Thunder are champions as the Pacers, of course, lose Tyrese Halliburton. Plus, J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director, will join us at 3 p.m. The Pac-12 agreeing to a TV deal with CBS today, beginning in 2026. We'll get into that and much more with J.D. Wicker at 3 p.m. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760 and live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, make sure to download the all-new iHeartRadio app and make sure to put Jon and Jim in San Diego Sports 760 in your presets. Listen live weekdays from 2 to 6. Listen back to any hour interview of the show on the all-new iHeartRadio app. We'll talk to J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. Tons to get into. He'll join us coming up at 3 p.m. Of course, last night, not just the Padres win over the Royals, also Game 7 of the NBA Finals. My wife is a lifelong Pacers fan. It did not go well in our household. She was literally in tears when Halliburton went down. That was tough to watch. In a 7th game to lose a player like that.
Wasn't she in tears during the starting lineup introduction?
She was in tears during starting lineup. I mean, she was really into it. She's like, now I know what it's like for you to be such like a diehard sports fan.
Yeah.
I said, give it a day or two. It always gets easier. That immediate aftermath is always the absolute worst, especially when it's a what could have been. A true what could have been. Halliburton hits 3 threes in 2 minutes. He was 3 of 4 from the floor, 9 points. Pacers even led at the half. They were kind of dismantled in the second half. The turnovers, the offensive rebounds for Oklahoma City. Thunder win it. I mean, I do think there's like a caveat. Tyrese Halliburton didn't play a majority of that 7th game, and we'll never know what would have happened if Halliburton was healthy.
I think if you're a fan, if you're a Pacers fan, obviously today sucks.
Just the worst.
There's nothing that you could say to a Pacer fan that's going to make them feel better. But I do think the what if scenarios, by the way, there is nothing worse in sports than what if. The what if scenario, that's always the worst, because now it opens up to everybody having this opinion that if Tyrese Halliburton was healthy, the Pacers would have easily won the game, which that was not going to be the case.
Not easily, but I do think they would have had a better chance to win the game.
But the what if scenario, if you're a fan of the Pacers, you can trick your mind into believing they would have won. And I don't know how it makes you feel better, but it's also, it's like, well, we won the championship. It's just, Tyrese Halliburton got hurt. So,
yeah, but you can't do that, as we know. I mean, there's a Warriors team that was injured against the 2019 Raptors. There's countless examples of injured teams.
And I've done that where I trick myself. Now, I do fully believe it, but I do tell myself, that 2019 title, whatever, because KD got hurt and Clay got hurt in that series. And I just felt that if both those guys were healthy, the Warriors were going to win again.
That's a fair way to feel as a fan. But the hard part, if you're like a Pacers fan, is that you're not in the NBA Finals every year. Golden State's won a lot. Mm-hmm. Pacers have been in one this generation. Their city, I think, is the Colts won one. It's a little bit. It's not San Diego because they have NFL and they have NBA.
In the history of the franchise.
Pacers have never won since the ABA. No. It's like if you get that close, if the Padres get to a 7th game, I mean, this is a perfect comparison. If the Padres get to a 7th game and Michael King leaves in the 2nd inning with an arm injury, and it's a scoreless game and you lose 6-0 or 6-1, it's always a what if.
Always a what if.
Joe Musgrove.
Always a what if. Exactly. 2024. Yeah. Always a what if. Now, it's different circumstances with him, but it still applies here. Now, again, I think that going into the game, I don't know if everybody realized just how hurt Halliburton was. I mean, that thing snapped all the way. It was hard to watch him go down. And frankly, the lasting memory that I'll get personally from this NBA Finals has nothing to do with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are going to be a forgettable champion unless they rip off 2 or 3 here in a row. But
I know
my main takeaway, my main image of this Finals, unfortunately, is Tyrese Halliburton going down, tearing his Achilles in Game 7, coupled with the Pacers' amazing run to the NBA Finals. There was nothing to me that the OKC Thunder did in this postseason. Just as me personally, I know that other people feel differently, but just me personally, nothing they did was that memorable, to be honest.
Here's the thing. I'm not pro Thunder because I was rooting for the Pacers, but I'm not as anti-Thunder as you are. To me, it's not their fault.
No, it's not.
That there's not as much, and also they're not as flashy as some of these previous teams. This is a bizarre, this super Thunder young core is not KD, Harden, Westbrook. It's different. But that's not their fault. It's not Shea's fault that he's not Steph Curry. It's not Shea's fault that he's not LeBron James. He's his own very good player. And I think it's unfair even when people are like, well, he's now LeBron. Don't even stop with that. Or let it just play out. And Jalen Williams, by the way, is a very good player. Is he James Harden? Maybe not. Again, to each their own. Chet is a good defensive player.
Right.
They don't win without that group. But again, are they the most likable team in NBA history, or are you going to remember this championship for a long, long time? No, I agree with that. But a lot of it for me is it's not their fault that they're not the Lakers, or they're not the Warriors, or they're not the Celtics, or they play in Middle America, or they're young. All right, they're champions. Let's see what comes from this on the other side. But I don't know. And it's also not their fault that Tyrese Halliburton went down.
It's just the worst part about it is all basketball fans last night were robbed of what could have been
a very good game.
I was hyped, man. I've watched most of the games. I think there's a couple games that I didn't watch because I was doing other things, but for the most part, I watched a lot of this NBA Finals. For an NBA Finals, to me, that was just kind of going in nah. But I watched most of the NBA Finals, and I was actually very hyped yesterday. I even told Aaron, hey, by the way, 5:00, game 7. We're planning our day around game 7. Yep. We got to do errands beforehand, but we have to be home for game 7, 5:00. And he hits those 3 threes, and you're like, oh, let's go. And there wasn't even a thought in my mind about his hurt calf.
No, me neither.
He looked good. He was running well. He played really well in game 6. Now he only played 20-something minutes and then blew out the Thunder, which, obviously helped him start and play in game 7. But we were all robbed of what could have been. And for anybody out there today that is anti-Halliburton playing in game 7, you have no idea how these things work. And you have no idea what you're talking about. He should have not played because now he's not going to be, right for the rest of his career now because the torn Achilles, and now he has to miss a season. If
sit out a 7th game?
If anybody in professional sports was in a position to play in a Super Bowl, a game 7 of the World Series, a game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, game 7 of the NBA Finals, guess what? If you can walk, you're playing, and that's what Halliburton did.
It's a dumb take because he played in game 6. So it's not even a real take, and it does suck for Tyrese Halliburton, who's now going to miss next year as well. And
brutal,
if you're
man.
A Pacers fan,
oh, dude,
not only do you lose the title, but you lose your star for another year.
That's the worst. And I've heard Draymond Green talk about this. Is nothing is worse than losing in the NBA Finals or losing in a championship round because you work so hard to get to that point. And now your offseason is cut so short. You're coming off an awful, postseason loss. And now you got to regroup. And now they got to regroup without Halliburton. Oh, dude, it's so brutal.
And the injuries, by the way, are not a coincidence. And we need to discuss that moving forward as well on the show.
I was just going to say, did you see the coincidence, though, that all 3 guys that tore their Achilles in the playoffs all were number 0?
I did see that.
Halliburton,
also ridiculous.
Dame, and Tatum.
But they're so overworked. For this to be happening like that, you can tell there's just way too much of a workload on NBA players if you include the postseason. All right, J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. Huge day for the Pac-12. We'll explain on the other side. J.D. Wicker back with us on Jon and Jim coming up next.
This update is brought to you by Staples. Padres start a 3-game series with the Washington Nationals tonight at Petco Park, 6:40 first pitch. The NBA Finals last night, Game 7. We crowned a champion. The Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Pacers to win their first NBA title in franchise history. Shea won the Finals MVP, a clean sweep this season, winning the regular season, the conference finals, and the NBA Finals MVP. The bad news of the game, though, Tyrese Halliburton tearing his Achilles. He'll be out for the rest of next season. In other NBA news yesterday, dropping on Game 7 day, KD got traded from the Suns to the Rockets. How many times have we all said that was easy? Well, the Staples Easy button is back, and it's got everyone saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos, plus quality products delivered next day to over 98% of the U.S. Staples. That was easy.
All right, hour 2, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Big day for the Pac-12 and San Diego State. Always great to connect with J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director on the home of the Aztec, San Diego Sports 760. The Pac-12 has a 5-year deal with CBS television beginning in 2026 when the league reforms with the Aztecs included. And first of all, J.D., we'll get into all of it, but thanks for hopping on. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, absolutely. Excited to be on. It's been a minute, and let's talk some Aztecs.
Let's talk some Aztecs. Let's talk about this announcement today. I mean, how significant is this relationship with CBS, which is big CBS? It's CBS Sports Network. It's football and basketball. It's championship games on CBS. What does this mean for the league and San Diego State?
Yeah, we're excited to have, to partner with CBS, and especially the big CBS opportunities. And, on the football side, it's not going to be, week 0 or where they can find the slot for us. They're going to take the best games and they're going to plug them in at various points during the year. So it gives us an opportunity to have a very large audience, and in one way, form or the other, it's going to be tied into most likely a Big Ten broadcast as well. So it's a great first step for us. We've still got, more work to do that we're working on from a TV standpoint, but this is a really good first step for us.
And explain the streaming side of this with Paramount Plus and how that ties into everything now going forward, and pretty much the future of everything that goes through streaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now it's still trying to understand and strike that correct balance between linear and streaming, and so the opportunity to also be on Paramount Plus will be important. I'm not exactly sure, how many of the CBS Sports Network games will be on Paramount, how that works exactly, but having that flexibility so that if you're not at your house and you're out wherever and you can still stream the game on Paramount Plus, that's, obviously beneficial. I mean, I know we've all done that. We've been somewhere not sitting in front of our TV, and we've been able to use our iPad or our phone to watch that game that's really important to us. So this just allows us to stay connected with our fans wherever they are.
J.D. Wicker with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Of course, the Aztecs' longtime athletic director. So I know you've been asked this. We've probably asked this to you before, but the idea of weighing exposure on television and streaming against the importance also of creating revenue for your student athletes and your department and the league to remain competitive nationally. How does that play out, the idea of exposure versus revenue?
Yeah, I mean, it's important. And, obviously we want to generate the maximum amount of revenue that we can so we can continue to remain competitive with those that, have larger financial deals. But at the same time, being this new version of the Pac-12, it's going to be important to have a lot of brand exposure. And, I think you've seen the Pac-12 has put out data over the last couple of weeks as we look at the current constitution of the Pac-12. We're very successful in football and in basketball to the point that we're as successful as, the ACC and the Big 12 at certain points in time. So allowing people to maximize the opportunities to see us on TV, to see the great brands that we are, is going to be important, and getting that spread out as much as we can, getting as many football games and basketball games on linear as we possibly can, but also knowing that streaming is an important part of that for that younger generation that doesn't have a cable bundle.
now that the framework of, a TV deal is done here with the Pac-12, next up is obviously, expansion, and June 30th is a date here coming up very quick. What's the latest with expansion and the new Pac-12?
Yeah, those conversations continue to, happen at the conference level. Three schools doing a great job, and they keep us updated on the conversations that they're having. The key for us is that we have 9 members by July 1, 2026. Obviously, there's some dates for schools that might be departing their conference to notify, but as we move into this, we're going to be in a great place and excited about when we get that 9th member name, and then we can really start moving forward with the details of the league.
JD Wicker with us right now, San Diego Sports 760, Aztec's athletic director. JD, as you know, there's so much discussion now about the future model of the college football playoff, and that's still to be determined, obviously. What do you believe makes the most sense when it comes to the future of the college football playoff, what that could mean for the Pac-12 and San Diego State as well?
I'm fully on board with 5 and 11.
Okay.
I think it's, you should have to earn it on the field. I mean, let's say you had those parameters on the men's basketball tournament, and, you look historically, you go back 5 or 6 years when the ACC and the Big Ten were putting all these teams in the tournament, and the SEC had 3 teams. So imagine if, the ACC pushed at that point to have all these teams in, and then you get to this year and the SEC only gets, let's say 6, and the ACC gets 8. Well, the SEC would have lost their mind because, would they get like 14 teams in, and the ACC got something like 3. So, I mean, things move over time. It's not always going to be the Big Ten and the SEC always at the top. There are others that, it's going to be cyclical. So I think 5 and 11, and you allow people to decide it on the field of play. And that gives us a better opportunity to, potentially have a team in there. We've got to go out. We've got to prove it on the field. We've got to win. We've got to schedule, strong non-conference matchups against the Power 4. And then we've got to go out and win them. And you do that, and you're going to have the opportunity at the end of the season to, maybe get more than one school in the playoff.
You've reached, it's such an evolving landscape, right? As you know better than I do, and the House settlement has now been rectified, and immediately following, you launched that student athlete recruitment and retention fund. But for our listeners, some of them are obviously not fully aware of how this is all playing out in real time. What is this fund going to mean for San Diego State athletics, and what do you want Aztec fans to know about what you're doing in that space that's just been announced within the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, now that the House settlement is final, we're allowed to pay student athletes, so we can share revenue with them up to $20.5 million. Now, we're not going to hit that cap, probably anytime in the near future, but we're going to put as much as we can towards it, so our fan base, our alumni, our donors can write a check to San Diego State University to the Recruitment Retention Fund, and that money will go directly to our student athletes through revenue sharing. You can dictate that I want it to go to a specific sport, or I just want it to go to the fund in general, and athletic department can figure out how to spend it. And you're going to get the full benefit of making a donation to the institution, and that's a tax write-off. You're getting Aztec Club points. All of those benefits that you would normally get when you're making a donation to the institution. So we're excited about having that opportunity now that we can, fund that. Obviously, Mesa and Aztec Link, the last couple of years have been our NIL partner that have been helping us do that, because that's how the NCAA allowed us to do it. We're very appreciative to all the work that they've done, and they're not going anywhere, but now you're going to be able to give it to the institution, and it's going to pass directly through to the student athletes as the coaches determine, what we want to share with each student athlete from a revenue share standpoint.
You hired a new baseball coach. What can you tell us about Kevin Vance, and what stood out to you to make you hire him here to be the new Aztec men's baseball coach?
We're excited about Kevin. He's a local guy, played, high school baseball at Torrey Pines. I've had a number of people reach out to me that are really excited. They knew Kevin growing up. or their kids knew Kevin growing up. He had a great career at UConn, an All-American. His coach did a lot of different places, from very well resourced to not as well resourced. So he's seen a little bit of everything, and has been successful wherever he's been. So those were the big pieces. He knows it. He played pro ball, and he's interested in the total student athlete experience, which is something that is a priority of mine and our department, that we're going to find athletic success, but we're also going to find academic success. And we continue to have, arguably the best life skills program in the country, so that when a student athlete leaves here, they are truly ready to go, be successful. And that's something that, Kevin embraces. And, it was very attractive to us as we looked at that, combined with all the baseball knowledge that he brings to the table. So we're excited to have him on board.
Coming off an appearance as well, pitching coach for Arizona. They were in the College World Series here in 2025. JD Wicker's with us right now, San Diego State's athletic director. Speaking of accomplishments, what about San Diego State golf, JD? I mean, JJ Spawn wins the U.S. Open. Xander Schauffele, just a memorable 2024. Now, 3 of the last 6 majors have been won by San Diego State alums. I mean, how proud does that make you feel, or how proud are you when you see these accomplishments playing out in real time in all sports, but specifically men's golf as well?
Yeah, men's golf has a long history of success. Ryan Donovan, our head coach, has been here for 20 plus years. Made the NCAA tournament all but 1 year. He coached JJ. He coached Xander. He coached Justin Hastings, right, who's been the low amateur at the last 2 majors. He didn't make the cut at the Masters, but was still the low am. And then was the low am at the U.S. Open. So it was great to have JJ and Justin on the screen at the same time. And that's, Ryan has coached them all. So that's, we're pretty sure, we haven't been able to find anything to prove it differently, that's the first time in a major you've ever had the winner and the low am be from the same institution. Again, like you said, 3 of 6 majors. It's awesome. It speaks a lot to our men's golf program and the great work that Ryan's done. And we're working on a golf practice facility out at the farms right now for our men's and women's golf team to have a place to go and train on a daily basis. So that's just going to help us continue to grow that program and, create great professionals.
JD, 2 months out. I mean, it's hard to believe 2 months out from football. Essentially, it'll be August 28th. Today's June 23rd. So just over 2 months. Stony Brook at Snapdragon Stadium. You look at this upcoming year for Sean Lewis and this program, having watched spring play out as we head into summer conditioning, not that far off from fall camp. What do you want Aztec fans to know about the upcoming season that's just 2 months away?
Yeah, we're excited. Generally you see the most growth in a program under a new coach from year 1 to year 2. We kept the student athletes that we wanted off of last year's team. There was a core that Sean wanted to keep. And then, we did a great job in the transfer portal over the holidays. And then you get that second transfer portal at the end of spring ball. And again, we kept everybody. And, at that point, all of these SEC and Big 10 and Big 12 and ACC schools still, had collectives with money, and they were coming after our players, but we were able to keep everybody intact. So we're excited about the team that we have. It's going to be exciting brand of football. We've got, we've beefed up the offensive line, which is a place where, we struggled last year. And that's, protection for the quarterback, opening running lanes, should help the offense be really exciting. And, we open up with Stony Brook and then go to Pullman for what I think is a very winnable game against the Cougs, and then a week off, and then we get Cal here. So my hope is we open up 2-0 and we pack the stadium and, beat the Bears from up in Berkeley and, have a great time.
All right, I thought that was going to be my last question. I have one more. Because Steven Strasburg today was named to the College Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, just a remarkable career here, not just here, but professionally. We talk about these Aztec for life players that also have all the success professionally as well. What has Steven meant to this baseball program? Obviously, his success on field playing for Tony, but his pride in being an alum of San Diego State.
Yeah, it's been fun. Steven, since he moved back to San Diego not that long ago after his retirement became official, and he's been really engaged with the baseball program. Really appreciate him and Bud Black and Tony Jr. and a bunch of other alumni were a part of our process when we hired Kevin. A couple of them spent time interviewing some of our candidates to give us an idea of what they thought from the baseball side of things. So Steven's gotten back. He's really engaged. The alumni been engaged with the program. So it's been fun to have him back in town and the opportunity to honor him for, the great college player that he was. That was appointment baseball for people in San Diego. When Steven Strasburg pitched on Friday nights, Tony Gwynn Stadium was, slammed full of people. And then when he, made his first appearance in Major League Baseball, soon after he got drafted, it was like when Paul Skeens did. So, Steven Strasburg was a phenom, that's for sure. And so we're excited he's going to be inducted the College Baseball Hall of Fame, and we're looking forward to going back and celebrating with him in February in Overland Park, Kansas, when the induction happens.
JD, always appreciate it. We know how busy it is. Again, the Pac-12, the news today is significant. The Pac-12 and CBS have a deal beginning in 2026, and we can't wait for that. And, of course, the future of this final year in the Mountain West as well, and football coming up in 2 months. So we appreciate you doing it. Be well this summer, and we'll do it again when there's more news.
All right, guys. Appreciate it much. Have a great July 4th. If I'll talk to you before then, and go Aztec.
We appreciate that, JD. All right, JD Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. Good to catch up with JD. Padres lineup is out. We'll share it with you on the other side. Plus, Kevin Acee at 4:30. This is Jon and Jim. All right, Wednesday at 6 right here on San Diego Sports 760, SDFC Midweek Live. Here from Mikey Vars, the head coach, other interviews as well. The latest on the club and Major League Soccer, SDFC Midweek Live every Wednesday at 6 on your home for SDFC San Diego Sports 760. All right, the Padres lineup is out.
Yes, it is, John.
And what does it say?
Pretty
the
much
9
the
hitters?
Same. There's 9 hitters.
Okay.
There's 9 positions.
Wow.
Well, 8 positions in a DH.
Okay.
It's
Is the pitcher's not hitting
the
anymore?
pitcher doesn't hit anymore in the National League, John. Did you know that?
Because they used to hit a lot.
They did used to hit a lot.
100 years.
How did we go through
It was awful.
that much baseball in the National League watching
Here's the
pitchers hit every day?
I think if you grew up a National League baseball fan, as we all did, I was cool with it. I feel like if you grew up an American League fan watching the National League, it was a lot harder. I think if you grew up a fan of the Padres, you understood that it was just part of it. I think if you grew up a fan of like the Angels and then you're watching the Padres, like, what the hell
Like
is
the
this?
Red Sox or Yankees.
Yeah.
right?
I mean, I like it more now. Now, I like the strategy of National League Baseball. I like double switches. I like pinch hitting opportunities. There's way more when pitchers hit, but I don't like pitchers hitting. I do agree with that.
I hate it.
What's the lineup? Because the pitcher's not hitting.
Thank goodness. Same as yesterday, essentially. Okay. Fernando Tatis Jr. leading off. Jackson Merrill hitting second. Manny Machado's hitting third. Luis Ariz is your DH today, hitting cleanup. Xander Bogaerts is hitting fifth. Gavin Sheets is hitting sixth. Jose Iglesias today is hitting seventh. He is in the field at second base. Jake Cronenworth is hitting eighth. He is playing first base. And then Elias Diaz is behind the dish. Now,
wow, look at that lineup.
Wow, exactly.
Okay.
It's it's a lineup, all right.
Oh, is it?
It's a lineup.
Merrill.
Oh man.
2-hole. Back-to-back days.
Bogart's hitting fifth again. Wow, look at that lineup.
You don't want to lead him up the way I'm hitting 600 whatever he might hit.
Jose Iglesias cracked the lineup after having 3 RBIs yesterday.
Honestly,
against
again,
a lefty.
The Iglesias we saw yesterday, and I know he did his damage against a right-handed pitcher, but the Iglesias we saw yesterday is a hitter we need to see in the second half of the year. He's been a very productive major league hitter, right? For average. He's always been a good 4 average hitter, and he came through in the clutch. They're going to need guys like Iglesias, guys like Cronenworth, guys like Bogaerts. But Iglesias, he played well yesterday. They're going to need more of that in the second half. He hasn't been the player truly I fully expected. Like the year he had last year, the Mets was ridiculous.
Right.
I'd like to see more of that.
And they're facing a lefty tonight.
Yep. Put him in there.
They have too many left-handed bats in this lineup. So Jose Iglesias needs to play against lefties. I thought finally yesterday, Shildt did something that you don't see often, which is he pulled Jake Cronenworth against the lefty late in the game, and he pinch hit for Jose Iglesias. That I thought was a move that needs to happen more often than not.
Completely agree.
And looking at the lineup today, still 4 lefties in the lineup against the lefty on the mound. No lefties hitting back to back with each other.
Right.
So, they're a team that needs more right-handed bats desperately. Mm-hmm. Hopefully they can go out and get one in left field. But as of right now, when there's a lefty on the mound, Jose Iglesias got to be in that lineup. His numbers aren't like spectacular against lefties, but they're way better than Jake Cronenworth.
Cronenworth, who we know is also in there tonight, but batting eighth. What about just sitting all the lefties? Don't play Merrill, Ariz, Sheets.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's the thing. They're going to play the lefties against left-handed pitching they should, as they absolutely should. But this is why a right-handed hitter in left field makes sense.
Oh, it makes so much sense.
Because if you added anyone that wasn't if you added a true left-handed hitter, I mean, you're almost creating more problems. Even not necessarily more problems, but they need to add a right-handed batter if they're adding a batter at the trade deadline.
100%.
It's clear as day.
A right-handed bat in this lineup could do wonders. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it could just make this a top 15, top 10 offense, but it will look a lot better if they go out and they get a right-handed bat, particularly with some power, and you put it in the middle of that lineup to break up all the lefties that you have here. And it just will look deeper. The lineup would look deeper. It would lengthen the lineup out more. And that's what they're going to need in the worst way. Pitching, they do need pitching, obviously, but still, this lineup is a lineup that doesn't score a lot of runs.
Speaking of which, by the way, lefty batters. So Stephen Kolek, the righty on the mound, obviously for the Padres. Listen to this lineup for the Nats. lefty, 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 switch, which will bat left, right, left, switch, right.
Is that good?
They'll send 7 to the plate from the left side against Stephen Kolek. We'll see if it works or not. But by the way, their leadoff hitter, CJ Abrams, has an 836 OPS. I didn't necessarily forecast that. He was projected to be that hitter. He's been a very good hitter this year, and James Wood has been one of the most productive hitters in baseball with his 934 OPS. 2 lefties at the top of the lineup for the Nats.
You know what we have on the other side, John?
We have another segment. What do we have?
We have an update, a legitimate update on Michael King.
That's going to come your way next. Don't go anywhere. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Padres and Nationals start a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Stephen Kolek on the mound for the Padres. The NBA Finals last night. Game 7 went to the Thunder, winning their first NBA championship in franchise history. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the Finals MVP, but the big story coming out of Game 7 was not the Thunder. It was Tyrese Halliburton tearing his Achilles 8 minutes into the game last night. And other NBA news conveniently dropping on Game 7 yesterday was that Kevin Durant was traded from the Suns to the Rockets. When you're trying to find quality candidates, all the searching, screening, and interviewing can become a job itself. You need Indeed, the all-in-one platform that makes it easy to interview, screen, and hire quality people. Visit Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, speaking of the NBA postseason, should the NBA shorten its playoffs? Colin Cowherd weighing in. You'll hear that in 15 minutes. Kevin Acee will join us at 4:30 from Petco. Padres Nats coming up at 6:40. You said there is a development in the Michael King injury saga.
Oh, there's a development, John.
So what is the latest as it pertains to King?
Well, right now, let me just pull up this report. Michael King did throw a baseball today. He threw a baseball.
Okay.
He went to 105 feet at, quote, medium to low intensity, around 30 throws. Now the big story is to see how he recovers and if all is well. If he does recover well, then he will push duration and his intensity.
He doubled down this weekend saying he will not miss the remainder of the season.
He did.
So that's now twice that he has made the point, basically as clear as day from his perspective. He will pitch again. Mm-hmm. Now, Mike Shildt has said that it would likely be after the All-Star break. Makes sense. There's 19 games. He will not appear in the next 19 games.
No.
Now, if he appears at some point in late July or early August, I think at that point, we're going to see that as a huge win for Michael King. But okay, so long tossing, essentially 30 throws, not off a mound from 105 feet for Michael King. Now the question is, how does he feel? He's recovering, I guess, theoretically from a pinched nerve that was suffered about a month ago.
Slept wrong, bro.
Slept wrong, begins the recovery a month later from a pinched nerve.
I know I'm making fun of this injury.
No, I get it.
Because of how he slept. But I mean, it is every time I say it out loud, I'm like, come on, man. Really?
Mm-hmm.
You slept? We've all slept wrong. I don't know, like, if I've ever heard of a professional athlete sleeping wrong and then missing 2 months of time. Now, again, could he be like one of those, like, hard sleepers where once he gets into one position, he doesn't move the rest of the night and it caused something to pinch, and maybe the bed was awful that he slept in. Maybe he just moved wrong and it caused pain, but still it's very odd to me how sleeping wrong is going to kind of derail his season a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, these are professional athletes. We don't expect something that you and I did deal with to impact them.
But I also do kind of expect if they do sleep wrong, we can relate.
We can relate to it.
But they also have the best medical care you could possibly have.
Here's what I know. That the ceiling isn't reached without Michael King's health.
No chance.
And even with all this lead up time, even if you're AJ Preller, say, you know what, AJ, go figure out starting pitching, even with all this time to prepare for the trade deadline. You can't. You're heavily invested in pitchers like Michael King and Yu Darvish. You can't just replace them all. You can't add pieces like Michael King and Yu Darvish. Like, maybe you can get lucky and add a piece like that at a deadline. Some teams are capable of doing that, but you can't just keep asking AJ Preller to add pieces to overcome injuries. They need King. Mm-hmm. I think they need Darvish. So it's encouraging that he's back out there throwing. Now, what does it mean? Is he going to look like the same pitcher when he gets back out there? Nobody has any idea if he's going to look like the same pitcher. A, he's got to get back out there on a major league mound. B, he's got to return to form. So maybe it's wishful, but the fact that he's throwing is better than the alternative, which is him not throwing.
You make a great point. This team is not going to reach its ultimate goals without a healthy Michael King, I believe.
I'm with you. No way. No way.
Could by some chance they overcome the loss of Michael King? Yeah, but I think the percent chance of that happening is very, very low. So when you put it into that perspective, is this team will not get to where it wants to get to without a healthy Michael King.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of makes you worried about the prospects of if Michael King's going to get back to Michael King level of play this year.
Musgrove last postseason.
Mm-hmm.
So crucial to the point where they have to pitch Dylan Cease on short rest.
But he wasn't as crucial as Michael King this year. Like,
fair.
The importance of it.
Fair.
They still had King, Cease, and Darvish.
True, but they were still one short, which just goes back to my, at the end of the day, they got to get to the postseason. And you could argue maybe they could do it without King for an extended period of time. It's possible. I think once they get there, listen, Stephen Kolek's been awesome. Ryan Berger's been awesome. Mm-hmm. Randy Vasquez has been terrific.
Yeah.
But you put him in short series situations where everything's under a microscope, And how do you overcome not having King? Just like how would you overcome doing it without Musgrove? Just like how would you do it without having you Darvish? I feel like it all adds up to the same thing. You need him to advance.
Now, if you look at last year's World Series winner, they had 2 starters.
And a historically good offense and historic bullpen game performances.
Right. So
dynamite bullpen, which the Padres had as well.
So if Michael King is not fully healthy, that's what you're asking. Like, hey, Cease and Pivetta carry the load, and the bullpen has to be historic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's kind of what you're asking if Michael King doesn't return to form. But by all accounts, whenever he talks about, his prospects of returning, there's no doubt in his mind he's returning this season. It's just the question then becomes, what's he going to look like when he returns? Is he going to look like exactly like the Michael King we saw, earlier this year and at the end of last year in the Game 1 Michael King against Atlanta where he struck out 12? Or is there going to be limitations on Michael King? Or could this injury become worse? Could it get worse? I don't know.
What about this, which we've had these hypotheticals before again about someone like Joe Musgrove? Let's say you're getting King back, but he doesn't come back until late July, early August. How do you plan for the possibility that he's not Michael King? If you're AJ Preller and you're getting Michael King back, is the expectation he is Michael King? But how do you know that if he's not pitching until August 1st, which is after the trade deadline? So then what do? You could add some back-end rotation piece potentially. You can never end a front. They're not adding a true ace at the deadline. Would you agree? Like, that's extremely unlikely based on what they have in their system, based on how much money they would allocate.
Ace is out there.
Well, I mean, like, there's going to be examples of teams that are selling off starting pitching that are out of it. I don't know. Again, Alcantara's been awful.
Yeah.
But like someone but he's won a Cy Young.
What about Jason DeGrom? Is he pitching this year? I know nothing about the Texas Rangers.
But that's my point. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be pitchers with higher upside than others, but are the Padres going to be in on the top 2 or 3 starting pitchers available? Knowing they have financial issues with their payroll, knowing they don't have the deepest system in the world, can they go out and get the number 1 starting pitcher on the market at the deadline is my point. My answer is going to be no. So they're going to add a mid-tier starting pitcher potentially, but that's not making up for Michael King at the end of the day. So again, they'll have time for Michael King to ramp up maybe. Let's say he gets back, it's August. August is still a long way away. Still got weeks and weeks until August. That's 5, 6, 7 weeks. But you're right. If he comes back, but he doesn't look like Michael King, well, then what do you do?
Then you hope Darvish looks like Darvish.
And Ryan Berger.
And Ryan Berger's been pretty good, man.
He's been great.
Stephen Kolk's been good. And Randy Vasquez has been very good as well.
If I told you Ryan Berger was pitching Game 4 of the NLDS against the Dodgers, would you feel good about the Padres' chances of advancing? If I told you Stephen Kolk was pitching Game 4 of the NLDS?
At that moment, no. But if you told me right now, Ryan Berger's pitching Game 4 of the NLDS against the Dodgers, I would take it in a heartbeat.
Because you're in the NLDS?
Because you're in the NLDS.
Yeah, but that's not the point that's not the question I'm asking.
I know.
I'm saying, how do you get past the Dodgers?
I'm manipulating your question to make it seem like absolutely I would take it right now.
Can you get past the Dodgers without Michael King and Darvish?
No.
It might be hard to get past the Dodgers with them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the most important, I guess, injury recovery news that comes out of this team is the health of Michael King. Darvish is also very important.
Mm-hmm.
Who the hell knows when we're going to see him?
What's the update on him?
I don't know. We'll ask Kevin today at 4:30.
Right.
But to me, it's a no-brainer. If Michael King is not Michael King, I mean, this team can hang around all they want. They're not getting to where they eventually want to get to, which is a World Series.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Again, this year had a 2.59 ERA, a 1 whip, a 2.59 ERA in 10 starts, and we haven't seen him since. And they need to get him back. And by the way, lifetime in a Padres uniform, he has a 2.86 ERA in 41 starts. He's been incredible.
He's been awesome
for the Padres over the last 2 years. We're going to hear from Colin Cowherd on the other side. Should the NBA shorten the length of its playoff series on the aftermath of just so many postseason injuries, late season injuries? Dame, Tatum, Halliburton, even LeBron got hurt this year in the postseason. You'll hear from Colin Cowherd on the other side. The wrap is coming up at 4 p.m. Do we have a giveaway today? We do have a giveaway today that we'll share with you coming up in the 4 o'clock hour as well. And Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, will join us from Petco Park at 4:30. But we'll hear from Colin Cowherd on the other side. We're here until 6, getting you ready for Padres and Nats. Don't go anywhere. It's Jon and Jim. San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app. Hey guys, it is Jon and Jim again for the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. Things are getting real this summer at Jamul. They've got a luxe hotel tower and a long list of new amenities. You've got more ways to play and enjoy all the perks of your casino fun. Players, when it comes to satisfying your wants and needs, they're not playing around. This is way more than a place to game. It's a place you can play in every possible way. Opening late this summer. Reservations now open. Visit jamulcasino.com.
Yeah, get ready to elevate your gaming experience with their brand new casino app. Get 200,000 bonus coins when you sign up and enjoy real rewards with every in-app purchase. Just play online at playjamulcasino.com. That's playjamulcasino.com.
And catch all the sports action, including Major League Baseball, over at Tony Gwynn's Sports Pub, where fandom meets fantastic at the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. All right, we've got a giveaway, Jim, today for our listeners.
Oh, I thought you were going to mean for like me or you.
Well, we do actually. There's ice cream by our boss's office.
Is it melted yet, or should we have gone
I don't know.
like 45 minutes ago?
I was told via email it's popsicles and ice cream. I would do a popsicle.
I would do a popsicle.
I would do ice cream. I mean, I would do a popsicle, I think.
I just had a cup of ice cream. It's fine.
You did?
Yeah.
So are there popsicles over there?
Yeah.
What kind?
I don't know. I didn't get popsicle.
Like red, blue.
Probably.
Way to do the investigative reporting, Brent.
Yeah, Brent. What kind of ice cream?
They have popsicles of various colors.
Okay.
And then they have like ice cream bars, which I assume they're just the OG hard chocolate and vanilla, like ice cream bar.
Well, did you pick anything up or no? You just checked it out.
I got a little
cup,
like cup of ice cream with like chocolate swirl or something.
Is it weird of me to say that I'm not a big ice cream fan?
Yes.
Little weird, but you and I are probably similar.
Aaron loves ice cream.
Well, most people love ice cream.
On the other hand, I'd rather have like a piece of like chocolate cake or like something like a cookie or
I get it.
You know, something
even in the
sweet.
Summer.
Yeah. I mean, there's
Potato.
some look in the summertime, if you were to say, all right, ice cream or like a cookie or like a piece of cake or brownies or whatever, I would probably choose ice cream, but I also probably would choose like sorbet or, you know, something that's more sweet instead of like a chocolatey flavor.
Would you go popsicle?
Popsicles are very good. Depends on what type of popsicle you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pro popsicle.
I'll do like ice cream sandwiches though. Those are good. I mean, come on, put a cookie and ice cream in the middle of it. Like
you can't go wrong.
Amazing.
All right, we're going to check that out at the break. Just as important is Colin Cowherd. Heard weekdays from 9 to noon right here on San Diego Sports 760. Now, I don't hate this take, but we're going to hear from Colin on the idea of shortening the rounds.
I haven't heard it and I already hate it.
Colin wants to shorten the length of the NBA postseason and the series from 7 games to 5 games. Take a listen.
Listen, I'm like you. I've sat around all day. I thought, okay, you don't get many game 7s. I thought the Indiana Pacers were an amazing story. It's one of the craziest playoff runs. They were underdogs to Milwaukee. They were supposed to get rolled by Cleveland. They weren't going to beat the Knicks. They even sold game 1 of the finals in OKC. It's just, you don't get stuff like this. And then Tyrese Halliburton, this incredibly likable guy, and his kind of crazy dad sometimes. He was along for the ride, and then he gets hurt, and you're like, oh, you can't beat OKC with one ball handler and just TJ McConnell. But last night was a real gut punch. It was hard to stomach. And this was the 8th Achilles tear this year in the NBA, most ever, and the 3rd in the playoffs, most ever. The NBA is on notice. Shorten the playoffs. They started 2 weeks before the draft, the NFL draft. The NBA is faster. There's more spacing. There's way more movement. Players are just moving more. It's twitchier. When you can see his Achilles flop, it's gutting. An Achilles tear used to be what old guys did at 58 playing handball. It was an old guy injury. It wasn't for 20-year-olds. That tells you everything. And baseball, for the record, has made multiple tweaks in the last 3 years. The sport has greatly benefited. The NFL tweaks in season. We love the NFL. The NBA has never been a stubborn league. Move off 7-game playoff series until you get to the finals. MJ, the most popular to the league ever was, 5 games in the first round. Maybe you can do conference finals at 7. But the NBA just got a $76 billion TV deal. The billionaires are going to be okay without another home game. Everybody's going to eat. Adam's going to eat. The owners are going to eat. The players, the coaches, 7 and 8 figures everywhere. These early round 7 games, when you look at these injuries, the Achilles injury, it's a wear and tear injury. You're just fatigued. You're tired. You're pushing it. Like they always say, you tear the Achilles on the last ski run of the day, or as you get older, you're an old guy and you're pushing it. That's where this usually happens. So next year, think about this. 2 of the most captivating players that we argue about, Jason Tatum of the Celtics, won't play next year. And now Tyrese Halliburton, because the lateness of this injury, probably will not play next year. You can tell me the Eastern Conference, I don't get Tatum and I don't get Halliburton? You think that's good for the league? I was thinking watching this injury, I'm thinking, you know who really benefited in the East this year? Orlando and the Knicks by getting knocked out earlier. They'll have a healthy roster. So I just look at this. College basketball in March gets bigger ratings than the NBA often gets in the playoffs. Why? Urgency. Make the games matter. I'm not asking for one and done. But when you're seeing 8 injuries and 3 tears over a course of a season, these are arguably the world's best athletes. They're in incredible shape. Very few of these guys play themselves into shape. They come in finely tuned, and the NBA should not be a war of attrition.
Well, first, I think one team that we're all forgetting about is in the Eastern Conference is the Cleveland Cavaliers. They had the best record in the East this year. Again, if it wasn't for injuries for them, and they weren't like devastating injuries, they just were kind of nagging injuries, then maybe they do get past the Pacers, and then maybe they do make a finals run. But the one thing about all of these injuries is it keeps, like, the amount of injuries keeps growing and growing and growing. And the fact that the NBA playoffs started like 2.5 months ago,
10
weeks ago, it's ridiculous. The way to make this thing right, which they'll never do because they're money hungry, just like every pro sports league, is 70 games, get rid of the stupid in-season tournament, 5-game series first round, and then you have 7-game series after that. And oh, by the way, also get rid of the play-in tournament as well. Go back to 8 seeds, go 5-game tournament, 5-game series in round 1. You go 5, 7, 7, 7, and, you know, cut down travel time, because, you know, the amount of travel and back-to-backs these guys are playing, it takes a toll on these guys' body. But the thing is, that'll never happen.
Here's what I would say. 10 years ago, when every player played every game, guys were not tearing Achilles at the same rate. Certainly 20 years ago, certainly 30 years ago. So here's my uneducated theory on it. Bigger, stronger, faster. At some point, it like just takes a toll. The NBA players are bigger, stronger, faster than they were 20 years ago.
And the amount of time they work out compared to back in the day.
Exactly. It's like, because they've gotten bigger, stronger, and faster, everyone's overworked. So the truth is, you know, like Michael Jordan was playing more games and more minutes per year than a lot of current players, or even LeBron James at the beginning of his career to maybe where he is now, or the average player in the NBA. But all these players now look like LeBron James. None of them look like LeBron James 25 years ago. So I don't know if there's a quick fix. I think that going from 80 to 70, I'm with you. I'm on board with it. If you played less, maybe you'd have less injuries, but wouldn't these guys work just as hard to get their bodies to these ridiculous levels of stamina that is like not sustainable for a human body, that's maybe leading to what we're seeing play out on floor?
Well, I think they'd be better rested.
But they do rest. I mean, the average star in the NBA is probably playing 10 or 15% fewer games today than they were playing 15 years ago.
Right. But yes, I think the wear and tear on these guys' bodies, it's at an all-time high. Now, is there some kind of flukiness to all these injuries put in there? Probably.
Maybe.
But the data does show that these injuries are just going up and up and up and up.
Yeah, like 25 years ago, what percent of NBA players are blowing out their leg with Achilles?
No, nobody.
And now it's happening. It's honestly happening with regularity.
Eight Achilles were blown out this year by players. 8 players blew out their Achilles this year.
I mean, there's only
3 in the postseason.
Think about it. 8. Let's say 10 guys per team play. That's 300 players. Okay, roughly. Not even 10 play, but let's say 10 times 30 is 300. 8 of your 300 blew out their Achilles. That's that's 3%. 3% of your players are gone for a year because of this injury.
I think that going forward now, if somebody has a calf strain, it's like you're out for a minimum a month, because it all, you know, correlates. You get a calf strain, come back, boom, that Achilles is like ready to blow up.
You were saying with me yesterday or earlier today, like that could have easily been Steph. Steph was dealing with a calf.
Well, he was dealing
with
a
ham.
He was with a hammy. But still,
Listen, I mean,
if you look at some of the injuries that were sustained by teams in the postseason this year, you know, and you see what Halliburton had to go through. Again, would you take a game 7 for your team? Absolutely, you would, regardless of the outcome. You want that chance.
Yep.
But, you know, if you're a Warriors fan or you're a Cavs fan, you're like kind of thinking to yourself, well, I rather, you know, have my team healthy going into next season than lose the NBA Finals and then have to deal with a year-long injury to one of my star players.
I prefer the game 7 is a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah,
we hadn't seen one in 10 years.
There is no question that he should have played.
Well, of course.
Well, not should have played, but he decided he wanted to play, and there should be no backlash for it whatsoever.
Zero. What do you got, Brent?
I was gonna say, do you think this year is a weird anomaly just because they have extra workload because of the Olympics?
Well,
because lots of players didn't have any off time because they went over to Paris. And I'm not saying it didn't affect the majority of the league because not the majority went over there, but
so
a lot
Tatum
of players.
And Halliburton were on that team.
Well, Tatum didn't play, but
they do play. That's the thing. Like,
yeah, even if they weren't in the Olympics, they're still working out every day. They're
traveling,
still playing, they're traveling. So the players that I would look at would be like Steph, LeBron,
they all got
KD.
hurt.
Well, they did, but not to the level of like you're out for the next season. You had suffered a catastrophic injury.
Other than Tatum and Halliburton, that's a lot. 2 guys that play in that Olympic team are out for the next year.
Played is a kind word.
True, but I mean, 2 guys that were part of that process. That is, I mean, it's a fair point. It's kind of a year round right now for NBA players. All right, we'll get to the wrap on the other side. Kevin Acee, your Padres insider, 4:30. Let's go get popsicles. It's Jon and Jim.
All right, this update's brought to you by Staples Stores. We'll start with the Padres. They start a 3-game series with the Nationals tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Stephen Kolk on the mound for the Padres. The Thunder are this year's NBA champion as they beat the Pacers last night in Game 7. But the story out of Game 7 wasn't the Thunder. It was that Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles. He's going to miss all of next season. And other news in the NBA, Kevin Durant, another team. He was traded yesterday from the Suns to the Houston Rockets. How many times have we all said that was easy? Well, the Staples Easy button is back, and it's got everyone saying it again for custom prints, shipping services, even passport photos, plus quality products delivered next day to over 98% of U.S. staples. That was easy.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
I stick by what we've said repeatedly. It's more about the players performing, regardless of where they're hitting, than the lineup itself. I want to give it more than one game, but I'm not expecting everything to be unlocked unless we see Bogarts play like Bogarts the last 5 days and Merrill play like Merrill of 2024. So I think there's potential, but it's based on the players, not based on where they bat in the lineup for me.
100%. I think anybody out there thinking that this is the magic elixir to changing the Padres offense, what I do think is something needed to change.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We're here until 6 p.m. We've got a giveaway this hour. We have Kevin Acee this hour. We're not giving Kevin away, but he'll join us at 4:30.
We're not?
We should. Caller 7. You can have Kevin. All right,
I have to clear that with Kevin first, I think.
This is the giveaway. Have you seen the giveaway?
I have. Have you?
Billy Idol tickets. All right. Now we're going to do it this hour. 2 tickets to see Billy Idol. This is part of Live Nation's $30 ticket to summer. It's Tuesday, September 23rd, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Have you seen Billy Idol?
What do you think, John?
Definitively yes.
Definitively yes.
You're 1,000% a Billy Idol guy.
I want you to think long and hard. And by long and hard, I mean...
Have you
pause.
ever heard
I mean,
of
like
Billy?
2 seconds.
Have you ever... Name a Billy Idol song.
I can't name one if my life depended on it, nor do I care.
All right, stay tuned for that giveaway.
Yeah.
Coming up later this hour, Kevin Acee will join us at 4:30. Is there a song we should know, Brent?
There's tons of them. White Wedding, Rebel Yell.
Oh, White Wedding. Yeah.
Oh,
Jim
yeah,
doesn't know
that's
'cause he
that
wasn't
song every time
born
I'm
in
working
the
out in the
80s.
gym. I'm like, this song brings me back.
All right, we have Billy Idol tickets. We'll give them away later this hour. Kevin Acee will join us at 4:30. If you missed JD Wicker.
I mean, come on. I mean, like, whatever.
Listen, I just read what's in front of me. I'm like Ron Burgundy over here.
I get it.
If you missed JD Wicker, big day for the Pac-12. They've signed a long-term agreement with CBS Sports. You'll hear JD again coming up at 5 p.m. But right now, let's get to this.
It's time for the wrap. Presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
What will the 2025 NBA Finals most be remembered for?
I think it's going to be the Halliburton injury. I think that people will remember the Pacers' run more than really anything the Thunder did in the NBA playoffs this year. I think all the Halliburton shots against the Knicks, against the Thunder, against the Bucks, against the Cavs, I think those moments and the Pacers' run will be what in 5, 10, 15 years people will remember more than what the Thunder did, which is honestly, it's been a day, and I there's not one signature like moment that I can think the Thunder had. Even though they probably did.
I agree.
But
There was Shea in game 4 down 2-1, his little baseline jumper when he pushed off.
Yeah.
Again, in the state of Oklahoma, this will be remembered for forever. Like in Tornado Alley, in that part of the country.
Right.
Obviously, this is going to be a pretty memorable moment. But I do agree with you that my takeaways from the series are, that not just the injury, but Halliburton's reaction to the injury, which is so raw and authentic and brutal.
You knew the second that he did it.
Plus, the game 1 finish was awesome. His game 1 buzzer beater, essentially, came with 0.3 seconds.
Yeah.
But his shot in game 1, I think, is the most memorable shot. And I think his injury is the most memorable moment. And I think, again, outside of like what I would call Tornado Alley, I mean, Oklahoma certainly is going to celebrate this Thunder team for forever, like an Oklahoma Sooners national championship in football, would be my guess. But yeah, I think generally speaking, people remember the Pacers run more than the Thunder winning it.
Like the Lakers back in the early 2000s, I think should be considered a way better champion than the Thunder this year. What's the most memorable moment of the 2001 NBA Finals?
It's Iverson over Tyronn Lue.
Exactly, and they got gentleman's sweep. It was a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, 5-game series.
I don't remember a thing about that finals other than that.
They rolled.
They did.
Yeah,
there was no other moment. Now the Lakers historically are a better team than the Thunder, and they have better players and more Hall of Fame players and more recognizable players. But still, if that finals against the Lakers, the Los Angeles Lakers with Kobe and Shaq, if what everybody remembers about those finals is the AI, what do you think people are going to remember about this one?
That's fair. What do you got, bro?
For me, no one's going to remember it now because of the Halliburton injury. But for me, it was ABC and ESPN dropping the presentation ball by not having the finals logo on the court, not doing it, just treating it like it's just any other.
They did get
Thunder
pressured into doing all that for Game 7, which I actually
6 games too late.
felt
It was
like
great.
this was a big game.
Yeah, it was great. I agree. Next question.
Will KD win an NBA title with the Rockets?
If he doesn't win with the Rockets, there's problems because it's when they sign or re-sign Fred VanVleet, because I think he's going to opt out of his deal to give him an opportunity to sign to a more team-friendly contract. They re-sign Adams to a pretty good deal as well. They still got Şengün. They still have Amen Thompson. Dude, this is, to me, I think the team to watch in the Western Conference next year. I know the Thunder are favorites, but I would not be surprised at all if next year in the Western Conference Finals, Thunder against the Rockets, which would be like must-see television because of KD, not because of Shea or the Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, they had a terrific year this past year, but offensively they were challenged. Their defense was really good. I guess my question is, who's the biggest threat in the West? And is it immediately Houston? Is Dallas in that conversation at all? I know they're dealing with injuries to like Kyrie Irving. They are adding Cooper Flagg. Where are the Lakers with any additions around Luka and LeBron? Like, who is the fiercest threat, the biggest threat in the West? I agree with you. It's probably Houston heading in.
But I do think they win one.
You think they win one? Wow,
I do.
Huge.
I do think they win one. I think if you looked at this past postseason when Steph eliminated that team again, the biggest problem was they did not have a go-to guy.
Yeah, like a scorer.
If they had a go-to guy, the Warriors are not winning that series. And you put KD on that team, which they did.
They just did.
They literally just did. They're not losing much. Like Dylan Brooks, goodbye.
5 second-round picks. What is that?
Jalen Green, goodbye. They essentially replaced Jalen Green with Kevin Durant.
Like an all-time historically
and
good
they
scorer.
Still have Şengün, and they still have Thompson. They still got Fred VanVleet. That team is going to be scary.
Yeah, by the way, Kevin Durant this past year shot 53% from the floor and scored 27 points per game.
Easily.
He can flat out score.
They're toast.
Houston?
Yeah. The last 2 teams he's gone to, Brooklyn was supposed to be really good. What they do? Nothing. He went to Phoenix, and they were supposed to be this big thing once he got there, and they were a huge disappointment. The last 2 teams he's gone to have just been pretty much epic failures. So
I feel like he's a missing piece here, though.
He's got to succeed somewhere else. Like it just, I don't know, man.
It's listen. The guy's he's a brilliant all-time scorer. He could use another ring in this capacity with Houston.
Right.
I mean, he's a brilliant player. He's not going to go down as like a top 3 player of all time, but he's going to go down as one of the great scorers of our lifetimes.
He'll be remembered. And if he wins a couple more titles, then it's obviously going to change. Yeah. But if he doesn't, he'll be remembered as one of the greatest just pure basketball players ever. But as far as like the legacy talk goes,
it's not the same.
He'll never be in the conversation of like the quote unquote greatest of all time, just because legacy is a huge part of the conversation.
But to your point, if they get one this upcoming year, we'll see if that changes the conversation. Next question.
Is this a must-win series for the Padres?
100% yes. 100% yes.
Have to win it.
Have to win it.
Can't lose it.
Did you know their record, John, against teams above 500 this year?
Padres or Nationals?
No, the Padres.
It's under 500. I know that.
They're 18-28.
Yeah.
So if you can't beat the teams that are under 500, that's a problem. You have to take care of business, which they did over the weekend against the Royals, which was nice. Now, same thing this 3 games. Take care of business. I'm not asking for a sweep, right? I'm asking just for a series win. Shildt loves throwing out the series win talk. Like, oh, we're about to rip off, 5, 6, 7 series. I hope that's the case, Mike, because then you're going to the All-Star break and you feel not only do you feel really good about yourself, but you put yourself in a position where AJ is going to be probably even more aggressive than he, was going to already be in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, this is a series, of course, in June. You can't call any series a must-win, but they can't lose it. I mean, how would you feel, Padres fans, if the Padres don't beat the Nationals at home in a 3-game series? The Nationals team that has truly been awful in June, like the worst team in the sport, and 2-13 in its last 15 games. So, yes, they need to find a way to at least take 2 of the 3 games in this series. Next question.
Will the Padres regret trading away James Wood?
No, because I think we talked about this earlier in the show. The butterfly effect, the ripple effect of that trade. You're not getting to the NLCS in 2022, right? Which, can we agree on that? Or at least you're probably not. Maybe you don't even make the postseason. I don't know. 89 wins. That, again, the ripple effect of the James Wood and CJ Abrams and Mackenzie Gore for, Juan, and Robert Hassel for Juan Soto, that ripple effect will be felt for a long time. And it's not as easy as just saying, oh, well, James Wood, just plug and play and put him on this team right now. No, because they don't have a lot of the pieces. Who knows if they have even Dylan Cease, because they used Drew Thorpe from the Yankees deal to trade to the White Sox for Dylan Cease. So again, there are so many layers to that one trade. It's not as simple as just, if you reverse it, everything's still the same today. It's not. So I don't think they're going to regret it. It is going to be tough, though, for the next 15 years to watch James Wood be one of the best players in the sport, though.
I think it's a bad take. I think it's a bad take when fans say we could add James Wood, but then you never went for it. Like, is that how you want to live your life as a sports fan? The Padres still haven't ever won a World Series. You want to try to win a World Series without going for it? It's hard enough to win when you go for it. They went for it. They should be celebrated for that. You can't live your life saying we shouldn't have gone for it. We should have been conservative.
Yeah.
This was a more appropriate path forward. This gave us a better chance in 5 years. No, go for it. It's hard enough when you're all in. They've been all in before. I don't like the take. They could have had James Wood. Such is life. Guess what? I mean, all these teams have traded away stars to get to the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Like in the NBA, you got to trade away stars sometimes to win. I mean, that's just part of it. Mm-hmm. It's just part of it. So no, I don't like the take that they would regret trading away James Wood, because what they got in return was a chance to legitimately win a World Series. They just didn't do it. But I mean, at least they took the shot. All right. Kevin Acee will join us coming up at 4:30. More on the Padres and the NBA Finals on the other side. Plus, we have these Billy Idol tickets to give away. We'll do that this hour. J.D. Wicker, San Diego State's athletic director. If you missed it earlier, you'll hear that conversation coming up at 5 p.m. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, Kevin Acee at 4:30. Sad news out of the baseball world and locally as well over the weekend. Scott Miller, who I'm not kidding, he might have appeared on the show as much as anyone, not as much as Kevin, but he's appeared on the show probably 24 times over the last 3.5 years. Sadly, we learned that Scott Miller succumbed to a cancer battle at the age of 62. Brilliant baseball writer. Great guest, humble, gracious. You hate to hear it. We lost Bryce Miller from the UT within the last few months. We lose Scott Miller, who was just a brilliant writer and a great man, and with us so many times on Jon and Jim. I'm always reminded of the article he wrote in the New York Times about Manny Machado and his love for chess, which is a great, great article he wrote. He had just published a book. We had him on a few weeks ago about the importance of managers, how they'll always be impactful in Major League Baseball moving forward. But really sad news, Jim. Scott Miller gone way too soon, the age of 62 after a cancer battle.
Yeah, the book was Why Baseball Managers Matter. The book's titled Skipper.
Yep.
I was at a party. When was it? It was on Saturday. Yeah, I was at a party on Saturday and I saw that. I was like, wait. I did like a double take. I'm like, whoa, what? Because like you said, we've had Scott on our show so many times. Other shows that I've worked on in town, I've had Scott on those shows.
Right.
You know, we've texted Scott a bunch. You, me, everybody. I honestly had no idea, and that's just probably my bad. I had no idea he was battling cancer to this extent, to where it got to. Like it just kind of like shook me. Like, wait, what happened to him? But then you find out, you know, his long battle with cancer. Age of 62. That's far too young, by the way. But the one thing has always stood out to me about Scott is, one, he was a great guest to have on just to talk baseball. Always great to talk baseball, and he always, tried to make time. He wasn't like the guest that never texted you back. He always did. He was always cordial in the press box. Every time you saw him, he was always nice. He was always welcoming. And we just lost Bryce Miller a couple months ago, and now Scott Miller, two very, very, very good writers in their profession, and always, had, great pieces about baseball and whatnot. Bryce with multiple things, but just a complete shock on my part to see the news over the weekend. And then you see the outpouring of people talking about Scott. You just feel awful for his family, and just feel awful that he's gone.
Yeah, I always said some of the work that I appreciated the most from Scott over the years was actually some of his pre and post that he did briefly on Bally's.
Oh,
it
yes,
wasn't
that's right.
forever. There was a few-year run in there where he was, I thought, a very good analyst when it came to the game of baseball. And it's a great time, if you haven't read his work before, to look at some of the archives of the New York Times, because there's just some spectacular pieces that he put together. A lot of it, by the way, on Padres baseball. And again, I haven't read his book that was released within the last few weeks, but I'm going to need to pick it up at this point. I want to read, and we've said this so long. I mean, we've had Scott on so many times to talk about the importance of managers in baseball. He finally published a book about the importance of managers in baseball. And again, gone far too soon at the age of 62.
It's just, you hate seeing those things. You hate it. And we have, certain people on our show so much, you kind of develop this like relationship with them. Definitely. Not like I texted Scott all the time, but it became very easy to just talk to Scott on the radio.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just very easy to talk to Scott, and it became a conversation instead of an interview. So yeah, I feel awful that, this happened, and, rest in peace, Scott Miller.
Yeah, going way too soon to get the age of 62. Terrific baseball mind. He will absolutely be missed, and had really, really good perspective, especially here locally in San Diego. Kevin Acee, we can talk to Kevin about Scott. He will join us on the other side. Also, updates on Michael King and Yu Darvish as the Padres get ready for the Nationals. Again, a lot of former Padres farmhands now on the Nationals major league team, not just farmhands, former Padres, Mackenzie Gore and CJ Abrams. And of course, as well, James Wood, who is scheduled to make his Petco Park debut tonight, the 22-year-old, one of the best offensive players in baseball, tonight against the Padres. So Kevin Acee will join us on the other side. We've got those tickets to give away. Stay with us, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update is brought to you by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Padres and Nationals start a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park. 6:40 first pitch. Stephen Kolk on the mound for the Padres. Last night, we crowned an NBA champion. The Thunder beat the Pacers in Game 7 to win their first NBA title in franchise history. But the big news out of that game was Tyrese Halliburton, who tore his Achilles. He will be out all of next season. And other news in the NBA, Kevin Durant traded from the Suns to the Rockets in a blockbuster deal. It's a race to the rebate finish line. Homeowners are saving $500 instantly with Anderson Plumbing's water heater buyback program and qualifying for instant rebates. You better call before rebates run out. Book today at AndersonPHA.com. Nobody wows clients like they do.
All right, Padres Nationals, the return of a number of former Padres and a former Padres farmhand scheduled to make his Petco Park debut in James Wood tonight against San Diego. Kevin Acee, our Padres insider, back with us right now on Jon and Jim. There's a lot to get to, Kevin. I want to start with Some good news potentially on Michael King. We saw what Annie Halbrin had written earlier today about Michael King. What's the latest with King as he works his way hopefully back to the major leagues at some point this summer?
Yeah, that would seem to be a really big step that obviously we all have just kind of been chasing what could be happening. And so he goes out there today and throws, I guess you could call it fairly aggressively, throws at more than 90 feet. He's being held back. I think the thought is that if he feels good, which he expects to, sometimes the player is the last guy you want to trust, but if he feels good, that he would go even further and throw more. And so, look, there's still no timeline. There's still virtually no way before the end of July that he would be back on the mound for the Padres. But considering that no one has guaranteed that he will pitch for them this year, that's a big step.
Yeah, huge step. Just seeing him out there throwing a baseball feels good to see that. Kevin, the big news over the weekend, probably the new look lineup yesterday with Jackson Merrill returning. How significant of a change do you think this is? And do you think this is going to unlock this team, or is this just what do you make of it?
I think that all of those core guys need to either keep hitting or hit better, and mostly hit better. And it really doesn't matter. I do believe them when they say it doesn't matter, but then again, they just changed the lineup, right?
Yeah.
Right. Look, I liked Shilt's explanation. What was it? Was it let those two guys ball or whatever at the top, or just go play baseball or whatever it was at the top? And hey, can you argue? If it works, we're all going to be like, oh, yeah, Fernando Tatis Jr. and Jackson Merrill at the top of the lineup. That makes all the sense in the world. I don't know, Rise. There got to be better options, but maybe not on this. You don't want to move Xander up too quick, right? Mm-hmm. It's been 5 games. It's awesome. Looks like the old Xander super. You don't want to move him up too quick. Look, I'll always defer to the manager. Not that he's always right. I've questioned some things on the lineup, but I'll almost always defer to the manager on the lineup. And I say, why not give this a shot?
Kevin Acee is with us. Yeah, exactly. Like, what's the worst that can happen? This offense really hasn't performed by and large. Is it going to get worse than it's been? No, there's a chance that
if you threw the names in a hat and threw the hat into the air and then collected them and decided that's how you're going to do the order, I don't think it could be worse than it has been on a lot of nights.
I think that's well said. Kevin's with us right now on Jon and Jim. How would you answer the question, will the Padres regret trading away James Wood?
Ooh, gosh, that's really good. Of all the ways that it's been asked to me and that I've considered it, that's a really good question. Or, will they regret it? I would say the chances are pretty good, which is completely different. And why I was fascinated by the way you asked it, then was it a good trade? Or, because you're just not going to convince me that I'm going to applaud a team that goes out and gets Juan Soto virtually every time. I just am. That was a team that felt it was primed to challenge for a World Series for a couple of years. Now, the fact that it didn't happen does not make it a bad move. The fact that the Padres, they're not trying to rewrite history. They knew that it could come back to haunt them. They did not get the Juan Soto that they thought they were going to get for that entire time. Maybe it would have been different, maybe not. But I think they will end up regretting it because, and when I say they, maybe not A.J. Preller, because to be in A.J. Preller's position, you got to live life, man. You got to go for it. But maybe the rest of us don't get to watch James Woods, maybe fans, maybe other people in the organization. I don't know. Yes, I think there's a pretty good chance because he's a pretty darn good player that everyone knew was going to be really good. But I want to reiterate, that doesn't make it a bad trade.
The Xander recent hot stretch, 11 for his last 19, starting with the game tying double on Thursday against the Dodgers. What have you seen that's different from Xander? Like maybe mechanically with his swing, or do you think this is more mental than anything?
I think it's largely mental, but I do think that because everyone's been trying to convince Xander, calm down, just be yourself, stop tinkering. He kind of calmed down. He kind of stopped tinkering. I am not a hitting coach. I could be imagining it. Xander looks more aggressive. I had my granddaughter's 5th birthday party. I took the weekend off. I have not talked to anybody because I did the first couple of days. What am I going to do? Talk to people about Xander being good for 2 days?
Right.
As a matter of fact, I was kind of like laughing when people were like stopping me. Hey, Xander's hot. I'm like, wow, that's how desperate you guys were for Xander Bogaerts to be hot. It's been 2 games.
Correct.
And you're excited. So I have not talked to anyone, but other than Xander. I feel like when he talks about being more connected, I feel like that is him calming down. And as many people have counseled him, be more aggressive in counts and be more aggressive with your swing, because his swing is a pretty swing when it's working. I just don't know that we've seen it all that often. So, but again, I'm not a coach. I think Xander Bogaerts, I've beaten this drum, beaten both drums because they're both true. Something's got to give here. But Xander Bogaerts was a hell of a player. I'm not saying he was worth $25 million a year. I'm saying he's a hell of a player. Way too good to be this bad for as long as he's been bad with the Padres. So we'll see.
We'll see is right. I think it's well said. I mean, if he can put together a half season, it could go, a long way, obviously, for the Padres. Kevin Acee is our Padres insider, back with us on Jon and Jim. What's the significance? It felt like a huge sigh of relief for Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting that home run. I mean, you could see it in everything: body language, mannerisms. Long time coming. What do you think it means for him now moving forward?
Well, the old Tatis, the Tatis that we watched for a lot of years, be the guy that we all were convinced we were seeing for the first month. Mm-hmm. That guy hits 3 or 4 more in the next week, right?
Yes.
But I don't know, because I'm not going to, again, get caught up in, like, this is what he's capable of. But it's been such a weird year. He hasn't been chasing a lot. It's just been such a weird year. I don't even know how to answer it. But the old Tatis, I don't know if it's the old Tatis, but like the Tatis we all think is there, that guy gets hot, man. So, it's truly amazing that during that time that he didn't hit a homer, he had like a 390 on base percentage.
Right.
Like but that's not what he's being paid for. Right.
Right.
Anybody else, if it was Luis Ariz, we'd be like, that's your leadoff hitter. But yeah, I don't know what to make of Tatis right now.
Do you have an update on the appeal by Robert Suarez?
The only update is that I think it's close and it's going to be 1 game, and I think he'll probably start serving it tomorrow, if not something coming down the pike pretty soon. But I do not know that. This is, Mike made mention of it, and that was not the first time it was mentioned today that, hey, this thing's pretty much done. So I'm not sure if that just means they're waiting to get official word from MLB and he'll serve it tonight, or if it'll be tomorrow. But I can't imagine we're waiting much longer.
And back to, were you there Friday night or no? Because did you miss the whole series?
I was there Friday, yes.
Friday, okay.
I only needed 2 days for a 5th birthday party.
Right.
Maybe when she turns 6, I'll take 3. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, maybe you get a full series once she, 6 years old for sure. The suspension for Mike Shildt. Now, did he have to stay in his office and MLB officials have to watch him? What's the process? How does that go down? Because I saw on Foul Territory that he had to stay in his offices with an MLB official watching him so he didn't intervene in the game at all.
I need to ask after that, guys. I know that there are controls on these guys. Someone sent me that clip about a half hour ago. I saw it and I'm like, well, okay, the way that it's being said sure makes it sound like it was more than normal. But so I don't have clarity on that. I don't. There are always controls for these guys, but that sure made it sound like, oh my gosh, Mike Shildt was under house arrest.
Right.
So I have not had a chance to ask about that one. That would surprise me. But I don't want to say no because I don't know. It was the first I'd heard of it.
It would surprise me if the managers are even in the ballpark in the midst of a suspension. Like, you would think you would have to leave the ballpark at a certain time if you were serving a suspension.
Go get dinner. It's okay.
But I don't know. I really don't know.
Because if you're I'm pretty sure that they've stayed. I'm pretty sure Mike was here. I'm pretty sure. Can't say for sure, but that I've seen managers that were suspended like well after games
right.
Be in the clubhouse, but they are not supposed to be communicating. And I do know there are controls in place. Like I said, like anybody who hasn't heard it, like, I mean, it was like deep state stuff there. That like they had armed guards outside, and he couldn't go to the bathroom by himself. And I was like, really? I guess I'll have to look into that. Did Mike tick somebody off? Did you know? And then I guess I need to find out. You know, what was Dave Roberts like? Did the Royals complain? I mean, if that's all true and it was really that intense, that would be a surprise to me.
Yeah, like what are we doing? Like telling, hey, Tyler Wade, it's a 2-2 pitch. Get this to Tyler real quick. Like, don't swing. I mean, what role are you really playing for behind the scenes?
I think a lot of us do joke. Like, I think we all know that when a manager gets thrown out, he's still pulling the strings from the clubhouse.
Right. Right.
But like a suspension is a different deal.
Sure.
And I guess it'd be a little cheaper and less perilous if they did make the manager just leave. Then they could, you know, keep the armed guards away, I guess. But yeah, I would be surprised if it was like that big a deal. But I mean, again, maybe I missed something while I was out.
Kevin, what can you tell us about Fernando Tatis Jr. filing this complaint today? We talked about this years ago. He did this deal with Big League Advance where he gave up future earnings in exchange for money, you know, up front. But of course, then he ultimately signed a deal worth $340 million, which means he's given up tens of millions of dollars potentially from this point moving forward. Was there some type of violation? I mean, what is he alleging in this suit? What is he seeking?
From my understanding, and Jeff Sanders is the one who has reported this today, but I know he talked to Fernando's lawyer that no, there's not anything new. It's the fact he's got a lawyer, and it's these types of contracts are not binding in California. So that's my understanding is that, like, you know, if it's time, Fernando has talked out about this before, but of course also has sort of talked before. I'm pretty sure he was used as some sort of character witness for BLA. Like there's some sort of change going on here, but Fernando would not talk about it today. All that was there was, I'm sure you guys have read his statement. And I think that is not a coincidence, that it's like a PR move. And the quote is that he's basically the hero here. He's doing this for other players. So, no, I don't know of any sort of violation. And look, it is exploitive. That doesn't mean it was in Fernando's case, right? Like you go and you get these kids who have nothing and who probably won't make the majors, and you give them some money betting on it, and they hit on Fernando. I have no insight into, but I know these cases have not worked before. They've either been thrown out or dropped before, so I am not sure what the newness is here. So we'll see.
Interesting. All right, we'll keep our eye on that.
Never dull, though, is it?
It's never dull.
Sake, could we play some baseball? Like, yeah.
It's like he hits one home run, all of a sudden he wants tens of millions.
That's right. Like, I want all the money.
I'm kidding. Kevin, appreciate it. We'll do it again on Wednesday, all right?
Right on. Take care.
All right, great stuff. Kevin Acee, our Padres Insider, brought to you by the all-new Jamul Casino Resort, the Players Place. We react to that, plus give away Billy Idol tickets on the other side. J.D. Wicker at 5 p.m. If you missed it earlier, San Diego State's athletic director. This is Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. All right, we're going to give away Billy Idol tickets, Jim, in the next few minutes. So be listening for that. That's coming up Tuesday, September 23rd, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. By the way, part of Live Nation's $30 ticket to summer. Thousands of shows available right now. LiveNation.com/ticket to summer. We'll hear from JD Wicker at 5 p.m. I was just reminded of something at the break. Has nothing to do with card collecting that we we're just talking about. It has everything to do with, you saw this because I sent it to you. I don't know if Brent saw this. The manager of Coastal Carolina in the College World Series, Brent has a quizzical look. It's a best of 3 series. It's the College World Series final. He was tossed in the top of the first inning.
10 pitches in?
10 pitches in, arguing balls and strikes from the dugout.
And it wasn't even like a crazy thing to argue.
The lip reading thing, by the way, was not egregious at all.
He said, you missed 3
pitches.
You missed 3. And he said it multiple times.
And then he got rung. And by the way, if they would have won the game, which they didn't, right?
No, they did not.
He would not have been available to manage because he came out and argued. Once a manager in college is tossed, you cannot come out and argue. That's one additional game. So he wouldn't have been available to manage game 3 either. But how soft do you need to be as an umpire in the final game of the year? You're going to let yourself get in the way of that. Coastal Carolina has earned their way to the College World Series final against LSU. You're going to toss their head coach or manager in the top of the first inning because he's arguing balls and strikes from the dugout. That to me was jaw-dropping. I couldn't believe it.
It screams, look at me instead of the real story, which is the players on the field. I'm trying to look up who the umpire was so I can use his name and tell you how awful this person is. I don't know the name of the umpire, but it doesn't matter because whoever this guy is, you're awful at your job if you are deciding to make things about yourself in a situation where all you need to do, my guy, is call balls and strikes. Game 7 last night, Rick Carlisle lost his you-know-what on the refs because all OKC was doing was flopping.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what the refs didn't do? Did not tee up Rick Carlisle.
Because you can't.
You can't do that in a just like game 7 or a winner go home, especially in the magnitude of this game. And yet this umpire, this no name guy, like whoever you are, Angel Campos decides to make it about himself. 10 pitches into the game.
I was
an absolute joke.
When I saw it, and then I was expecting, I thought the guy was going to have pushed the umpire. And by the way, when he came out, did you see the video of what happened once he came out?
Oh yeah, he fell.
Some other umpire fell over, did this complete topple over.
But it wasn't just their manager; it was also their first base coach.
The first base coach got run too.
It was ridiculous.
So ridiculous, and honestly, I credit, to your point, I credit the NBA officials because the NBA and these professional leagues know better. You can't toss a head coach in a game 7. You can't toss you got to move hell and earth before you're tossing coaches, players, giving technical fouls, flagrant fouls. Let it be decided on court. Let the teams play. Let the manager manage. It's one game. It's for all the marbles. How could you throw someone out in the first inning? What an embarrassment.
And the coach for Coastal Carolina, I mean, this is like a lifelong dream to be coaching in the college baseball World Series. And yeah, they were down 1-0, and they were fighting for their lives here to force a game 3. But dude, come on, man. Now, did I watch the entirety of that game? No. But I did see it. It was on my television, and then I did turn the channel. I mean, it was just ridiculous how that game started the way it did. I cannot believe that umpire did that. That's incredible to me.
Dude, this guy was a major league umpire for a long time. If you remember that name. Angel Campos was a long-time major league umpire. He's been managing in college. That probably tells you what happened to his major league umpire career. How do you even get kicked out of being a major league umpire? Think about that.
It's hard.
How could you get kicked out of the MLB umpire union? It's impossible.
Well, you have to really suck at your job.
Right.
Which he does, by the way, probably.
And there was another game a couple of years ago he was criticized for, and then there was this. And I'm sorry, like, he's not going to be umpiring in future College World Series.
Nothing is more annoying. Like the top of the list, it happened last night, where in a winner go home game, the game ends up being reduced to us talking about what ifs with injuries.
Yeah, and that of course isn't anyone's really fault.
No, but that those are just fluky things.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the worst thing that could happen in a game 7 is an injury like that.
I agree.
The next worst thing is the refs or the umpires taking over and making it about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That is just it's not angering. It is, but it's so annoying to watch. Now, last night in the finals, game 7, there were some moments where I'm like, why are they letting the Thunder get away with all this? But it also, to your point, game 7, just let them play it out.
I didn't think it was terribly officiated. I thought, in being honest, because Kristen was yelling left and right, and I was too, but the reason, this is a separate conversation real quick, the reason the Pacers lost is all they did was turn the ball over, and they couldn't.
The third quarter was what did them in.
They couldn't rebound defensively. How many second chance opportunities did the Thunder have? That's why they lost. Was the officiating perfect? It never is.
No.
I don't think the Pacers were a good whistle away from winning. I think they were good guard play away and good rebounding away from being in the game. And Tyrese Halliburton.
And the good guard play went away when Tyrese Halliburton
100%.
tore his Achilles.
But I never expected the turnovers like that. I mean, they looked completely lost at times. Was the officiating great? No. There have been other game 7s in NBA history where officiating has been the story.
Yeah.
To me last night, it wasn't the story. Was it a story? If I was a Pacers fan, I'd probably say yes, officiating was a factor, but it's hard to say it was the factor. Like this umpire was the factor in the College World Series.
It's a joke.
A complete joke.
A joke. I mean, come on, dude. Probably today thinking like, I did it. I did the right thing. No, what you did was you made it about yourself. And you look like a loser for it.
And by the way, you're taking away, forget about the manager for a second or the head coach. It's student athletes. It's young men. What are you doing? You're taking that opportunity away from 20-year-olds? Why? Because you're Johnny Tough Guy? Give me a break.
I know.
Angel Campos.
I could never be like in the position of these managers or head coaches.
Oh, you'd be ejected every game.
Because I would I'm not kidding. If I was the Coastal Carolina manager yesterday and I got rung by,
you would tackle the umpire.
I would have thrown fist. I would have gotten physical. I'm not joking. I think it would have been very hard for me if I was put in that position as the Coastal Carolina manager, getting tossed 10
hit someone
10 pitches in to not go out and shove this guy to the ground and throw fist. I don't know, man.
On the opposite side, if you were an umpire, would you just toss everyone left and right?
No.
You don't think that's a ball? You're gone.
No. Because now, knowing and everything now, it's the way I feel about this. These umpires get so triggered over words.
Yep.
And it's to have the outcomes of games be affected by you being affected by words is insane to me.
And not a magic word. There's words you cannot use.
There is.
If you go too far, and if they had him lip reading and he went too far, okay, that's one thing.
Yes.
But there were no magic words in this instance, and this was a trigger happy umpire in the College World Series final. And he should be ashamed by that.
If you can't, as an umpire in any league, if you can't deal with F-bombs,
it shouldn't be umpiring.
You should not be umpiring because you are softer than baby tissue.
Right. This is a very high level of a game. So you can never allow yourself to get in the way of that.
No.
All right. Call right now if you want 2 free tickets to see Billy Idol Tuesday, September 23rd at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Caller 3, you are going. 2 free tickets. Billy Idol, September 23rd. North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. Call 877-767-4760. That's 877-767-4760. Caller 3, you're going. JD Wicker, if you missed it earlier, big day for the Pac-12. We'll explain why on the other side with San Diego State's athletic director next, Jon and Jim.
All right, this update is brought to you by Amazon Prime Day, John. Padres in Nationals start a 3-game series tonight at Petco Park, 6:40 first pitch. Stephen Kolk on the mound for the Padres. The Thunder are the NBA champions for the 2024-2025 season, beating the Pacers in Game 7 last night. But the news of the game was Tyrese Halliburton tearing his Achilles 8 minutes into the game. And other news in the NBA yesterday, Kevin Durant, he was traded from the Suns to the Houston Rockets. If you love deals, you'll love this. Prime Day is lasting 4 days this year. That's 4 days of unbelievable deals in every category you can think of. So you can save big on everything you're into. Shop Prime Day, July 8th through the 11th.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
I stick by what we've said repeatedly. It's more about the players performing, regardless of where they're hitting, than the lineup itself. I want to give it more than one game, but I'm not expecting everything to be unlocked unless we see Bogarts play like Bogarts the last 5 days and Merrill play like Merrill of 2024. So I think there's potential, but it's based on the players, not based on where they bat in the lineup for me.
100%. I think anybody out there thinking that this is the magic elixir to changing the Padres offense, what I do think is something needed to change.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is the final hour of Jon and Jim. We will hear from Mike Shildt coming up, his pregame comments to the media. We'll share those with you coming up later this hour. But if you missed it earlier, a significant day for the Pac-12. We had San Diego State's athletic director, J.D. Wicker, on to discuss the Pac-12 announcing a 5-year partnership with CBS television beginning in 2026. We started the conversation asking about the significance of that partnership.
Yeah, we're excited to have, to partner with CBS and especially the big CBS opportunities. And, on the football side, it's not going to be, week 0 or where they can find the slot for us. They're going to take the best games and they're going to plug them in at various points during the year. So it gives us an opportunity to have a very large audience, and in one way, form or the other, it's going to be tied into most likely a Big Ten broadcast as well. So it's a great first step for us. We've still got, more work to do that we're working on from a TV standpoint, but this is a really good first step for us.
And explain the streaming side of this with Paramount Plus and how that ties into everything now going forward and pretty much the future of everything that goes through streaming.
Yeah, I mean, it's right now it's still trying to understand and strike that correct balance between linear and streaming. And so the opportunity to also be on Paramount Plus will be important. I'm not exactly sure, how many of the CBS Sports Network games will be on Paramount, how that works exactly, but having that flexibility so that if you're not at your house and you're out wherever and you can still stream the game on Paramount Plus, that's, obviously beneficial. I mean, I know we've all done that. We've been somewhere not sitting in front of our TV and we've been able to use our iPad or our phone to watch that game that's really important to us. So this just allows us to stay connected with our fans wherever they are.
J.D. Wicker with us right now. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Of course, the Aztecs' longtime athletic director. So I know you've been asked this. We've probably asked this to you before, but the idea of weighing exposure on television and streaming against the importance also of creating revenue for your student athletes and your department and the league to remain competitive nationally. How does that play out, the idea of exposure versus revenue?
Yeah, I mean, it's important. And, obviously we want to generate the maximum amount of revenue that we can so we can continue to remain competitive with those that, have larger financial deals. But at the same time, being this new version of the Pac-12, it's going to be important to have a lot of brand exposure. And, I think you've seen the Pac-12 has put out data over the last couple of weeks as we look at the current constitution of the Pac-12. We're very successful in football and in basketball to the point that we're as successful as, the ACC and the Big 12 at certain points in time. So allowing people to maximize the opportunities to see us on TV, to see the great brands that we are, is going to be important. And getting that spread out as much as we can, getting as many football games and basketball games on linear as we possibly can, but also knowing that streaming is an important part of that for that younger generation that doesn't have a cable bundle.
Now that the framework of, a TV deal is done here with the Pac-12, next up is obviously, expansion, and June 30th is a date here coming up very quick. What's the latest with expansion and the new Pac-12?
Yeah, those conversations continue to, happen at the conference level. Therese Gould's doing a great job, and they keep us updated on the conversations that they're having. The key for us is that we have 9 members by July 1, 2026. Obviously, there's some dates for schools that might be departing their conference to notify, but as we move into this, we're going to be in a great place and excited about when we get that 9th member name, and then we can really start moving forward with the details of the league.
JD Wicker with us right now, San Diego Sports 760, Aztec's athletic director. JD, as you know, there's so much discussion now about the future model of the college football playoff, and that's still to be determined, obviously. What do you believe makes the most sense when it comes to the future of the college football playoff, what that could mean for the Pac-12 and San Diego State as well?
I'm fully on board with 5 and 11.
Okay.
I think it's, you should have to earn it on the field. I mean, let's say you had those parameters on the men's basketball tournament, and, you look historically, you go back 5 or 6 years when the ACC and the Big Ten were putting all these teams in the tournament, and the SEC had 3 teams. So imagine if, the ACC pushed at that point to have all these teams in, and then you get to this year and the SEC only gets, let's say 6, and the ACC gets 8. Well, the SEC would have lost their mind because, would they get like 14 teams in, and the ACC got something like 3. So, I mean, things move over time. It's not always going to be the Big Ten and the SEC always at the top. There are others that, it's going to be cyclical. So I think 5 and 11, and you allow people to decide it on the field of play. And that gives us a better opportunity to, potentially have a team in there. We've got to go out. We've got to prove it on the field. We've got to win. We've got to schedule, strong non-conference matchups against the Power 4, and then we've got to go out and win them. And you do that, and you're going to have the opportunity at the end of the season to, maybe get more than one school in the playoff.
You've reached, it's such an evolving landscape, right? As you know better than I do, and the House settlement has now been rectified, and immediately following, you launched that student athlete recruitment and retention fund. But for our listeners, some of them are obviously not fully aware of how this is all playing out in real time. What is this fund going to mean for San Diego State athletics, and what do you want Aztec fans to know about what you're doing in that space that's just been announced within the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, now that the House settlement is final, we're allowed to pay student athletes, so we can share revenue with them up to $20.5 million. Now, we're not going to hit that cap, probably anytime in the near future, but we're going to put as much as we can towards it, so our fan base, our alumni, our donors can write a check to San Diego State University to the Recruitment Retention Fund, and that money will go directly to our student athletes through revenue sharing. You can dictate that I want it to go to a specific sport, or I just want it to go to the fund in general, and athletic department can figure out how to spend it. And you're going to get the full benefit of making a donation to the institution, and that's a tax write-off. You're getting Aztec Club points. All of those benefits that you would normally get when you're making a donation to the institution. So we're excited about having that opportunity now that we can, fund that. Obviously, Mesa and Aztec Link, the last couple of years have been our NIL partner that have been helping us do that, because that's how the NCAA allowed us to do it. We're very appreciative to all the work that they've done, and they're not going anywhere, but now you're going to be able to give it to the institution, and it's going to pass directly through to the student athletes as the coaches determine, what we want to share with each student athlete from a revenue share standpoint.
You hired him? You hired a new baseball coach. What can you tell us about Kevin Vance and what stood out to you to make you hire him here to be the new Aztec men's baseball coach?
We're excited about Kevin. He's a local guy, played, high school baseball at Torrey Pines. I've had a number of people reach out to me that are really excited. They knew Kevin growing up, or their kids knew Kevin growing up. He went and had a great career at UConn, an All-American. His coach did a lot of different places, from, very well-resourced to not as well-resourced. So he's seen a little bit of everything and has been successful wherever he's been. So, those were the big pieces. He knows it. He played pro ball. And he's interested in the total student athlete experience, which is something that is a priority of, mine and our department, that we're going to find athletic success, but we're also going to find academic success. And we continue to have, arguably the best life skills program in the country, so that when a student athlete leaves here, they are truly ready to go, be successful. And that's something that, Kevin embraces. And, it was very attractive to us as we looked at that, combined with all the baseball knowledge that he brings to the table. So we're excited to have him on board.
Coming off an appearance as well, pitching coach for Arizona. They were in the College World Series here in 2025. JD Wicker's with us right now, San Diego State's athletic director. Speaking of accomplishments, what about San Diego State golf, JD? I mean, JJ Spawn wins the U.S. Open. Xander Schauffele, just a memorable 2024. Now, 3 of the last 6 majors have been won by San Diego State alums. I mean, how proud does that make you feel, or how proud are you when you see these accomplishments playing out in real time in all sports, but specifically men's golf as well?
Yeah, men's golf has a long history of success. Ryan Donovan, our head coach, has been here for 20 plus years. Made the NCAA tournament all but 1 year. He coached JJ. He coached Xander. He coached Justin Hastings, right, who's been the low amateur at the last 2 majors. He didn't make the cut at the Masters, but was still the low am, and then was the low am at the U.S. Open. So it was great to have JJ and Justin on the screen at the same time. And that's, Ryan has coached them all. So that's, we're pretty sure we haven't been able to find anything to prove it differently, that's the first time in a major you've ever had the winner and the low am be from the same institution. Again, like you said, 3 of 6 majors. It's awesome. It speaks a lot to our men's golf program and the great work that Ryan's done. And we're working on a golf practice facility out at the farms right now for our men's and women's golf team to have a place to go and train on a daily basis. So that's just going to help us continue to grow that program and, create great professionals.
JD, 2 months out. I mean, it's hard to believe 2 months out from football. Essentially, it'll be August 28th. Today's June 23rd. So just over 2 months. Stony Brook at Snapdragon Stadium. You look at this upcoming year for Sean Lewis and this program, having watched spring play out as we head into summer conditioning, not that far off from fall camp. What do you want Aztec fans to know about the upcoming season that's just 2 months away?
Yeah, we're excited. Generally you see the most growth in a program under a new coach from year 1 to year 2. We kept the student athletes that we wanted off of last year's team. There was a core that Sean wanted to keep. And then, we did a great job in the transfer portal over the holidays. And then you get that second transfer portal at the end of spring ball. And again, we kept everybody. And, at that point, all of these SEC and Big 10 and Big 12 and ACC schools still, had collectives with money, and they were coming after our players, but we were able to keep everybody intact. So we're excited about the team that we have. It's going to be exciting brand of football. We've got, we've beefed up the offensive line, which is a place where, we struggled last year. And that's, protection for the quarterback, opening running lanes, should help the offense be really exciting. And, we open up with Stony Brook and then go to Pullman for what I think is a very winnable game against the Cougs, and then a week off, and then we get Cal here. So my hope is we open up 2-0 and we pack the stadium and, beat the Bears from up in Berkeley and, have a great time.
All right, I thought that was going to be my last question. I have one more. Because Steven Strasburg today was named to the College Baseball Hall of Fame. I mean, just a remarkable career here, not just here, but professionally. We talk about these Aztec for life players that also have all the success professionally as well. What has Steven meant to this baseball program? Obviously, his success on field playing for Tony, but his pride in being an alum of San Diego State.
Yeah, it's been fun. Steven, since he moved back to San Diego not that long ago after his retirement became official, and he's been really engaged with the baseball program. Really appreciate him and Bud Black and Tony Jr. and a bunch of other alumni were a part of our process when we hired Kevin. A couple of them spent time interviewing some of our candidates to give us an idea of what they thought from the baseball side of things. So Steven's gotten back. He's really engaged. The alumni been engaged with the program. So it's been fun to have him back in town and the opportunity to honor him for, the great college player that he was. That was appointment baseball for people in San Diego. When Steven Strasburg pitched on Friday nights, Tony Gwynn Stadium was, slammed full of people. And then when he, made his first appearance in Major League Baseball soon after he got drafted, it was like when Paul Skeens did. So, Steven Strasburg was a phenom, that's for sure. And so we're excited he's going to be inducted to College Baseball Hall of Fame, and we're looking forward to going back and celebrating with him in February in Overland Park, Kansas, when the induction happens.
JD, always appreciate it. We know how busy it is. Again, the Pac-12, the news today is significant. The Pac-12 and CBS have a deal beginning in 2026, and we can't wait for that. And, of course, the future of this final year in the Mountain West as well, and football coming up in 2 months. So we appreciate you doing it. Be well this summer, and we'll do it again when there's more news.
All right, guys. Appreciate it much. Have a great July 4th. If I don't talk to you before then, and go Aztec.
We appreciate that, JD. All right, so that was earlier. Again, a big day for San Diego State and the future Pac-12 as well. We'll get back to the Padres on the other side. We're going to hear from Mike Shildt. He has spoken with the media. You'll hear his comments before Game 1. Padres and Nationals coming up at 6:40. Jim's back pages ahead. Stay with us. This is Jon and Jim. All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. AM radio keeps vital voices accessible. Congress can secure its future, but we need your help. Text AM to 52886 now to support keeping AM radio in cars. Tell your member of Congress to pass legislation now and keep AM radio in cars. Standard message and data rates apply. We will hear from Mike Shildt, Jim, coming up in about 7 minutes.
Ooh, I can't wait.
What I want to know is his thoughts on Stephen Kolek, who's going to pitch tonight. You think he's asked about Kolek? What impresses him about?
Oh, Jon, I think that's the very first question that he's asked.
Is that where you would go if you had Mike Shildt this evening on the radio?
It's always the
opening
question, obligatory. Hey, what's the first question we're going to ask Mike Shildt today? Can you talk about your starting pitcher tonight?
Honestly, I want to know his thoughts on the Coastal Carolina LSU thing. Like, if I was there, I would ask.
Like that question. That's a good one. It's a very good one. I would ask about, hey, what's the procedure when you get suspended from a game?
Yeah,
because
that might
some things came out today on social media saying that you were basically like locked in your office. I would also want. I
need a Halliburton thought from him.
Oh, he doesn't care about Tyrese Halliburton.
I'm kidding.
What else would I want to know from Mike Shildt? Other than that,
are the Thunder starting a dynasty?
No.
Does he know anything about anything other than baseball?
My guess would be no on that one.
There's no way he was watching. He wouldn't have a comment probably on the College World Series either. He's like, I'm too locked in.
I'm sure there'll be questions about James Wood and all former Padre players.
It's kind of before his era.
Was
that his first year here?
I think he was with the organization in 2022.
That was his first year?
Yeah, he was, with the front office.
Oh, yeah. That was his first year here. Good point.
Yeah, other than that, there's really nothing interesting. The lineup change we'll talk about yesterday. Michael King, for sure. Absolutely. So, yeah, those are the questions I would ask Mike Shildt today. Michael King, Coastal Carolina reaction to, that whole situation.
Mm-hmm.
Your suspension procedures.
Right.
What else did we say? We said another one, right?
Did you mention the trade?
Oh, yeah, in the trade. That's it.
Thoughts on James Wood?
Yeah, anything else literally is just filler.
All right. Well, we're going to hear from Mike Shildt actually coming up in a moment. Mm-hmm. We haven't even really touched on, I guess we did briefly KD to the Rockets. We did during the wrap.
We
briefly touched on that. I mean, for that to be announced prior to Game 7
was BS.
It was. And you saw his live reaction from Fanatics Fest.
Oh, I did.
And they turned that into a card, by the way. That's a Tops Now card.
And he signed it.
And he does sign a one of one. Of that.
Yes, he did.
But I guess we're led to believe that he learned of the trade on stage in New York City at Fanatics Fest.
Actually thinking about it, it's actually not that awful. It wasn't like this was announced in game or this happened during the game or whatever. I think having it be announced as far out before the game rather than right after, like if it was announced this morning that KD got traded,
it would take all the thunder, no pun intended, from the Thunder.
Blum bum. Now again, there's really no talk of. I mean, the Thunder conversation is a very quiet one. It's being had, but people are moving on very quickly from it. Did you see their celebration last night? By the way,
I did. I watched it all.
What'd you make of it?
I would say anticlimactic is what I made of their celebration last night. I wasn't a huge fan, but I get it. Shea, to his credit, has been with Converse since day one. Mm-hmm. Halliburton's been with Puma for all those years. Shea having the gold Converse shoes around his neck for hours was a little overkill for me. I get it. I'm sure they're paying him a lot of money. I'm sure their sales have been ridiculous here today. But in general, I didn't think it was anything of uniqueness really last night, I guess.
Well, the unique part about it for me, and I meant to say it this way.
In the locker room?
The locker room celebration.
Yeah.
How like they didn't drink at all. There were probably 40 to 50 bottles of unopened champagne bottles. No one drank any beer. That just proves like, young kids, they don't really want to drink. Like maybe they do, but these young players, they don't want beer.
What do they want?
I don't know.
Are they drinking booch?
I think
NA beer?
I think Jalen Williams said that he's like, I'd never opened a champagne bottle in my life.
Hasn't won an NBA Finals.
I think a lot of them in the locker room were confused. They didn't know how to open a champagne bottle.
Kind of makes sense. I mean, they were one of the youngest teams ever to win a finals, right?
They are the youngest team
Other
to ever
than
win a finals.
Caruso, the whole team was like 20. Not 20, but in their mid-20s.
You see what Caruso said post-game?
Yes.
LeBron's not going to want to hear this. He said, finally, I got a real one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
he was joking.
But
still,
honestly, I mean, we all
not really
feel kind of
joking.
the same way because they took like 3 months off in the middle of the year and then played in Orlando for 2 months.
Yeah, Colin today said that he would rank at the last, 7 champions, he would rank the Lakers 2020 team as the best of the last 7 champions.
It's such like an asterisk. They might have been the most talented. I mean, they had stars in their prime. Or, I mean, LeBron's LeBron. You had AD healthy.
If that team didn't get 3 months off, they're not winning the
wouldn't have
title.
won it. Yeah. Who's the best team since 2019?
Oh, come
Golden
on,
State fan.
Of course, the 2022 Golden State Warriors. Come on, they were underdogs in that series. Steph Curry had an amazing finals, won Finals MVP. They won on the road in Game 6. I mean, come on, what are we doing here? Seriously,
I would say probably the 2025 Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, really?
No, probably not. But if their numbers are going to hold up pretty good,
their numbers are going to hold up.
The
Absolutely.
68 wins, the margin of victory. Now they needed 2 7th games to win in the postseason, but they put up the graphic. Most wins in a season. Golden State's at the top. They're 3rd or 4th all time. Most wins overall, regular season and postseason.
Actually, they're tied for 2nd.
Okay,
but it's wild because, as you said, all of their numbers, their plus minus, their points differential, their win total, the fact that they had the regular season MVP, they had a first team, unanimous All NBA team player in Shea. They had the conference finals MVP in Shea. The finals MVP was Shea. He clean sweep across the board. They had multiple All NBA guys, everything, right? Is anybody ever going to say that the Thunder are, like, when you're saying this team versus this team, is anybody going to say the Thunder? Like, is anybody going to pick the Thunder for like all-time great teams?
Not yet, but that story could change if they get another in the next 2 years. I think if the Thunder win one more in the next 2 years and take 2 out of 3, I think the conversation is going to change.
They're going to force their way in that conversation. But right now, I don't think anybody's thinking that.
Maybe not, but they are the favorite heading into 2026.
Should be.
All right, we're going to hear from Mike Shildt on the other side. Jim's back page still ahead. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app.
All right, this update is brought to you by Cal Fire. We'll start with the Padres. They start a 3-game series tonight against the Washington Nationals. 6:40 first pitch. Stephen Kolk on the mound for the Padres. Last night, the Thunder beat the Pacers in Game 7 of the NBA Finals to win their first NBA championship in franchise history. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the Finals MVP. In other news in the basketball world, Kevin Durant yesterday morning was traded from the Suns to the Rockets. Protect your home and property now. Start at the house and work your way out by hardening your home and creating defensible space. Learn more from Cal Fire on what it means to be ready at readyforwildfire.org.
All right, Mike Shildt with the media. Padres, Nats coming up in 1 hour from Petco Park. He spoke with the media at length just a few moments ago, and the conversation starts with his impressions and what's impressed him the most about tonight's starter, Stephen Kolk.
Stuff's been good. Command of the strike zone, controlling counts, all of it. Being able to get early outs. Changeup's been good. Cutter's been good. Power sinker's been, the calling card has been good in all phases.
Jose Iglesias in the lineup today, coming off of what was a big impact on yesterday's win. What kind of impact does he have, both on the field, but also as a veteran presence in the clubhouse?
We've got a veteran clubhouse. He adds to it, so that's important. He understands how to see the game, play the game. I think I was on display for sure yesterday. A couple 2-strike hits. Jose does a nice job. We have a lot of regulars. We're getting Louis off his feet to get a DH day to day, but we've been able to pass the DH around and get him on the field. So he's played second, short, and third more recently. Again, went in yesterday and got a couple big hits, big hit and a big RBI to win a game. So he's done a nice job for us.
As far as the relay yesterday to keep the game tied, that's the kind of thing that you practice going back to the early days of February in Peoria. When you have a moment of play like that contributes to a win, is that especially satisfying from your seat?
Yeah, it's very satisfying. It shows up a lot more, at least in my eyes, than maybe other people are peripherally are aware of it. We do a lot of things very fundamentally sound that lead us to win a game. We do a lot of things fundamentally sound that keep us in games. And we play a very clean style of baseball and do a lot of things right. And Jackson did a great job, just a really well-executed baseball play. Busts his tail over, keeps the ball from getting in the gap. Probably had a thought about diving for a ball and then realized it wasn't there, was smart, went and grabbed it, came in through a low, nice, easy to handle ball from Hosey. Because he's able to do that, Iglesias is able to, turn and gather some momentum, which allows him to make a stronger throw and a more accurate throw when the first throw is accurate. And he did just that, and then Diaz in a good spot to tag him out. So it's a big play that was well executed. It's the fundamentals that we expect and work on, and but don't take for granted.
With Kolk, how have you noticed that sinker you're talking about? How have you noticed his understanding of pitch and when guys are on base, how he can use it as a weapon to get a couple outs, and how he can use it as a weapon to try to keep hitters off balance?
Yeah, I think there was it's one of the things that I think that the eye test will tell you, but also that analytics will tell you that just where you're throwing it, where it's getting the most play. Last year the bullpen, is coming up, maybe just because he's trying to get his feet wet, just trying to make sure he's in a strike zone with it. But there was a real clarity that, with righties, he just wasn't throwing it in enough. And when he is throwing it in, you're going to get ground balls. And then that's one of the benefits I felt like for Steven to make the transition to start was his ability to throw strikes, his ability to have a power sinker that was able to get guys on the ground if he got in traffic and, you're one pitch away from being out of an inning with one out. So, it's just a good pitch that has a lot of awareness to how to use it now best.
Do you have any clarity on Robert's hearing or when you might expect clarity on that?
I have an idea what's going to take place, but it hasn't been made official. So I very much hesitate to announce something that's not officially done. But I do think that both parties or all three parties, however you want to look at it, Suarez, the union, and the commissioner's office have worked together to figure out what that ultimately is going to look like. And I think I've got some awareness to it. I just don't think it's not been finalized to my awareness.
During this, not just 26 and 27, I think it's 35 and 30. 7 or something like that, where you guys just gone, there's some circumstances, I think, where sometimes you haven't been able to give guys rest. How remarkable has it been, your guys just going out there day after day?
Yeah, our guys like to play. And you know what, Ace? The days I try to give them rest, man, I got to keep my left up. These guys, hey, they like to play baseball. Even the DH day, you know, they no, I need to be on that field. I need to be on the field for my team. I need to be out there for my guys. But that's what you know, everyday players and quite frankly, you know, players that compete for championships and have a high expectation to perform do. And so we always are going to be smart about it. You know, performance is a part of it. You want to be, you know, I think I've always been pretty good at this, and that's the communication of that individual with the players, but also collectively making sure that, you know, we're strong in the second half. And then the balancing act of winning that particular game. So our guys like to play, and again, we've used the DH to get guys off their feet and been smart about that. One of the biggest things that doesn't show up that I think we do well and we work with our players on is, you know, what happens before the game and how efficient we're going to be with the work prior to the game. That allows guys to be able to make sure when the first pitch is thrown, they're ready to rock.
If the lineup arrives second day in the cleanup spot, switch with Merrill, what do you like about that?
We're still getting a feel for it. I mean, you know, yesterday we saw it, and both guys contributed. So you could have said, well, they could have done that in the spots they were in. But I think it makes some sense. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. And but until we play with it, we won't have a better idea. But I like the idea of it.
Like, Manny's closing in on another huge career milestone. What does he mean to the team, not just statistically, but in the clubhouse?
Yeah, it's important that consistency is what ultimately wins for an individual player to have a career. And Manny, because the consistency allows whatever talent you have to come out and to be on display. And in this game, it's about, you know, getting things done, result oriented. And Manny, from a consistency standpoint, personally, has been very good in his career. And then from a clubhouse standpoint, when you have a guy that shows up, plays every day, performs every day, to Ace's question about, especially in streaks where, you know, you're going and playing a lot of games, being able to grind and get after it is a really good trait that shows your teammates how and models what this looks like to be a contributing professional player on a winning team. So those are all things that Manny brings to the table, and he's really taking the next steps into being that appropriate vocal leader. But really, most of his actions are led by just that, his actions.
I spent a lot of time around James White when he was still in the organization. What do you think what he's turned into?
Not surprised. You know, I mean, look, when the trade was made, and good news about that trade, both Soto trades where they were good for both parties, right? You know, it allowed this club to go and do some good things in 22 and parlay into the trade we got after that. But you knew, at least a lot of people in the organization, and specifically to the question for me, Dennis, is like, man, that's so great. We're getting Juan Soto. Ooh, James Wood. But I don't think that was a surprise to AJ. You know, that's the cost of doing business. So what he's doing is not a surprise. He's a very gifted player, but he's wired right with his head. He sees the game well, and he's a really mature guy.
What kind of challenge do you think he'll present facing him this series?
Hopefully not a big one at all. But clearly it's a guy that we've earmarked as somebody that we're going to be very smart about.
He's a character, man.
He really is. That's well said. You talking about Mike Shildt?
Oh, yeah, Mike Shildt. Mike Shildt is a character for sure. Like,
one of one?
He is definitely a one of one.
He is a one of one.
Well, I just sometimes listening, I'm like, what did he say?
To keep some of these players out of the lineup, he needs to keep his left up.
Yeah, because he's
going to get knocked out.
He's like, oh, they're going to knock me out. They're going to throw punches out. They're going to throw punches.
Yeah, they got to be playing. They want to. That's so funny.
Maybe I don't know, man. Whatever. Just win baseball games.
Go win baseball games. They did it this weekend against Kansas City. We'll see if they can do it this week against the Nationals. Jim's back page on the other side. Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760, and live on the iHeartRadio app.
Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website.
All right, Jon and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. The iHeartRadio Music Festival is back. Live performances by John Fogerty, Maroon 5, The Offspring, and more. September 19th and 20th, T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. 2 nights, 1 stage. Buy tickets at AXS.com. Get them now before they sell out. We are back tomorrow, recapping Padres Nationals, looking ahead to game 2 of the series. We'll have a wrap-up show for you tonight as well on YouTube.
Now, is tonight the Fernando Tatis Jr. bobblehead giveaway, or is that tomorrow night? Or is
I
that?
can't answer that. I mean, I would answer if I knew the answer, but I don't know.
It's the bat flip bobblehead in the City Connect jerseys.
Is that tonight?
Might be tonight because the MLB official account said the Padres are giving away this incredible Fernando Tatis Jr. bat flip bobblehead.
Okay.
I know they've been, pumping that thing up on Padres.tv.
It's tonight.
It's tonight. Okay. So
Tatis Jr. bat flip presented by Surf Pro.
Rich, I know you're listening. I'm going to need one of those.
Well, here's the thing. Your head will spin if you don't get your hands on this electrifying bobblehead. Limited to the first 40,000 fans in attendance.
Oh.
This Tatis Jr. bat flip bobblehead presented by Surf Pro features Nando and a 360-degree rotating bat flip.
Wow.
Which presumably happens after a home run, which he needs to do more of.
Now, I know stations in this building have got the bobblehead.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Well, then why don't you just ask for one?
No, I meant like to promote on their shows on the FM side.
I'm saying, so maybe they have an extra one for you.
Well, I don't think so, but
is that the best I'm looking at remaining giveaways. Michael King bobblehead with the King crown, Machado basketball jersey, Dylan Cease no-hitter bobblehead,
Luis Ariz,
and the Luis La Regadera bobblehead with a little what is it, sprinkler water coming out of the bottom of the bobblehead.
Can they change the Michael King bobblehead to him sleeping in a bed?
No. They cannot. Just lying down.
He's like,
no,
my
you
shoulder.
don't want that. You don't want that.
I really don't want that.
You don't want that.
No, but some really good giveaways so far this season.
Let's get to it.
All right, it's a Monday, so Crumble Cookies, new cookies of the week have come out.
Okay.
Do you know who Benson Boone is?
I do not.
Okay.
Nope.
He is a musical artist. You would recognize some of his songs. He's very popular.
Benson Boone?
Benson Boone, yeah. It's like a theme cookie this week off of Benson Boone.
Mm.
Benson Boone's Moonbeam Ice Cream Cookie, chocolate cheesecake cookie, a lemon cake cookie, a confetti cake cookie, raspberry butter cake cookie, a Snickers peanut butter cookie. Oh, sign me all the way up for that. And then the milk chocolate chip cookie. So those sound delicious.
They all sound very good. Yes.
Again, they're all probably 75,000 calories for one cookie, but you know what? You gotta live a little.
You only live once.
You only live once. Yeah. KFC's $7 fill-ups are back, John. You get four loaded meals, a new peaches and cream Mountain Dew drink, and they are collabing with the new F1 movie. Fried chicken meets Fast Lane. So buckle up and eat up.
Have you seen the trailer for the F1 movie?
Yeah.
I clicked on it because it said it was like a haptic trailer.
What does that mean?
I think it means like the phone moves, like you get vibration and like through your Apple. But I tried it and it didn't work. But it might be because I don't have the latest iOS. Okay. But it looks like Brad Pitt in a race car.
Yeah, that's what F1 is, John.
Yeah. Does it look good?
I will not be watching it.
Okay.
Not something I will be watching. You know what movie I do want to watch, though? I was at a party on Saturday, and they're all talking about it. And I've seen the animated version, so I know exactly how the movie goes. But the live version of How to Train Your Dragon just got released, I think, last weekend. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
No? Well, why would you watch that?
Why would you
movie?
ask me that?
Because you don't watch any movies.
Right.
Maybe Jones might have.
What's it about?
It's about a dragon and a kid that trains a dragon.
I think it's a book.
I think so too. And they made it into a
movie,
like an animated movie. And there's 4 or 5 How to Train Your Dragon movies. And they now finally took the animated version and turned it into a live action movie, which I heard was fantastic.
Okay. I won't check it out.
I know you won't.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. Taco Bell is set to release a new lineup of, listen to this, Rockstar Energy Frescas. Taco Bell has officially introduced its newest lineup of energizing beverages, Rockstar Energy Refrescas. The new drink will launch nationwide on June 17th. Actually, that already did launch. And it's available for a limited time. Rockstar Energy Refrescas come in 2 bold flavors, pineapple lime and tropical punch. Each packed with 200 milligrams of caffeine. Give one of those to Jones.
No, dude. No, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah. It is $4.49 for each medium Refresca.
Wow.
I'm glad I'm not addicted to energy drinks because that would be
They're highly
problem.
Highly addicted.
My dad used to be addicted to that, and I was like, Dad, you need to stop because you're drinking 3 Rockstars a day.
Did he stop?
He stopped, but I mean, I hope he did.
I drink a lot of.
He lives in Northern California, so I'm not around him all the time.
I mean, I drink a lot of Celsius, and by a lot, I mean 1.
And Rockstar is like water compared to Celsius.
Really?
Yeah.
Celsius is stronger, you're saying?
Yes.
So you're screwed.
Well, what's gonna happen? My heart explodes?
Yeah. You better stop drinking Celsius, dude.
I'm sure it's a warning and a side effect on the can.
All you drink is Celsius and Diet Coke. Man, that is a great combination right there.
I drink water.
But would you say you've drank more Celsius and Diet Coke today than water?
0 Diet Coke today, 1 Celsius.
Wow. Look
I'm
at
off
you.
the Diet Coke train for the time being.
You're tailing off?
Yeah. Are you done? Because I've won.
Dude,
how did you bury the lead of the show? The Jaden Daniels card sold at Fanatics Fest for $500,000. The most expensive Jaden Daniels card ever sold.
Why?
To the Commander's owner. Because the Commander's owner was on stage with Jaden and said, who has the best Jaden Daniels card here?
I was thinking of a basketball. Never mind. Continue.
$500,000. You saw it at Fanatics Fest for $500,000.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous amount of money.
The card industry, I love it. But
there's some crazy prices.
It's these crazy rich people that are ruining it for everybody because now nobody can ever get these cards. And the prices are always going up because guys like Logan Paul decided they want a Pokemon card and spend $5 million on it, which has completely ruined the market. Good job.
Well, anyway, yeah. A 1 of 1 Black Finite Prism Jaden Daniels 2024 Went for $500,000 to the owner of the Commanders.
If you're a kid and you want to get into card collecting,
good luck.
Good luck.
You need $1 billion hedge fund. All right, we're back tomorrow at 2. If you missed anything today, go to sportssd.com or the iHeartRadio app. If you're listening to us on the podcast, please leave a review as well. We'll have a wrap-up show for you tonight following Padres and Nationals Game 1. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.
Bye-bye.